Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Gaming Mix podcast, your official podcast from analogstickgaming.com. We've, of course, been away for a while, so if you don't know me, my name is Jordan, one of the co owners of Analog Stick Gaming, and to my right, as he often is now, is Jeff Young, the founder of Analog Stick Gaming. How are you, Jeff?
Pretty good. Trying to balance the podcast and then Mr. Banter here, my little corgi, who is like, I want to play fetch right now with this big, loud, like rock almost type of like plastic thing, and absolutely loves. But no, that's pretty much it. Just balancing the two pet life. Oh, there's Banter.
Fantastic. Please forgive me if there is some weird audio stuff for this episode, just because we have been away for a while. I'll discuss why in a minute. But also, we're trying a brand new setup situation here, which, if it works and once we get it fully in tune and right, will allow us to do some more interesting stuff with the show, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, there may be some teething problems over the next couple of episodes as we figure out exactly how we want this to work, and who knows, there might even be an opportunity for the show to become live on YouTube as we record it. We'll figure that out as we go along here, but I guess I should tell everybody why we've disappeared for the last couple of months, right, Jeff?
Trump's tariffs.
So if you haven't been following me on social media, essentially my PC decided to stop working. I then had to send this PC off to get a processor and motherboard replacement, and they sent it back to me thinking the issue would be fixed with these replacements. I had it for a couple of days, and the issue was still present, so I then had to send it off again. At the moment, I'm kind of not 100% certain the issue's gone, but it seems to be mostly eradicated. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we're kind of past that now. But yeah, so that's why we've been away. Don't worry, we haven't forgot that, we do have some regular viewers of this podcast. And of course, if you're seeing us for the first time, once again, I want to say thank you, hello, welcome. Make sure you subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Leave a comment. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different because we would normally do a small catch up first about non gaming things, and then we would do gaming news, and then we normally do what we've been playing at the end. However, because we've been away for so long, we have lots of what we've been playing to talk about. So I think this episode is going to be a little bit different. But for those of you that know us, we are, of course, both wrestling fans. And in the time we've been away, quite a lot has happened, actually, Jeff. A whole WrestleMania has happened.
Yeah. John Cena turned heel. As
Yes.
much as that has been like one of the most kind of questionable uh things, basically. Like,
Yeah. The
it
way the
doesn't
whole
feel like he
situation's
turned.
been handled, right? It's just weird.
Yeah, like he turned heel. All right, joined the Rock, and the Rock basically, he set it up where he figured that he wouldn't need to be around, that it could just kind of like just be between Cody and Cena, not realizing that he was the catalyst of all of it. And so it made the heel turn feel weird. um and John Cena is basically getting almost like the same amount of applause as he was before, but like he's just, I don't know, it's such a weird heel turn that doesn't feel genuine.
Yeah, yeah. I'd agree
And
with
he's
that.
kind
I
of doing.
think it was kind of summed up in that WrestleMania match, right? Where that really sent a decent WrestleMania off with a stinker because they
That was
needed
the
the.
worst I've ever seen Cody wrestle.
Yeah, they needed The Rock there, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Like,
And I mean, like you take a look at like when Cody fought Brock, like he like before Brock even got into the ring, before the bell even rung, he beat the crap out of Brock with a chair. Where was that Cody?
yeah, yeah.
He's like, "Oh, I won't hit you with the bell." Ooh. Like it was so it
It
was
it was
honestly the worst I've
weird
ever
because
seen.
it wasn't. It was almost like they were trying to make Cody's character be more like a John Cena of old, as in kind of putting on the, oh, you're the new
Yeah,
John Cena, you're their new plaything now
but
kind of
he's
thing.
done the dirty like wrestling and stuff like that. Like it's no stranger to it, and it just it felt so stupid. The Travis Scott stuff was absolute dog shit. But The Rock should have been there.
Yes,
Like
yeah, I
that's
agree
like
with that.
it just felt so dumb. And I mean, like
At
WrestleMania
least
for the most part was fine. I don't think it was amazing.
I think there were some kind of very good parts of it, but then
Yeah,
lots of it was just kind of, it didn't feel as much like a WrestleMania as it normally does. It sort of felt like a normal, premium live event type of thing.
yeah. Like the New Day and the War Raiders. That should have been the TLC match that was on the following SmackDown, because the New Day match was no different than anything you would see on SmackDown or Raw or whatever.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Tiffy winning was great. With
Although that
Charlotte.
match, can I just say, was genuinely really bad, and I don't know if one of them got knocked out or what, but they were making so many mistakes in that in that match.
Yeah, I think it chalks up to nerves, especially with Tiffy, and then Charlotte has not been back for like a
That's
while and
true.
stuff. So it
That's
was
true.
just not a terribly good one. I mean, Jacob Fatu taking the belt, that was obvious.
Yes.
LA Knight's been a transitional champion. Um, I don't mind the Jay match. I just don't think that Gunther should have tapped.
Yeah, I
Like,
thought it was a weird way of. I get it for the story they were telling, but it was the wrong choice in my opinion. I agree with that as well. I
yeah,
don't think it suits Jay, and I don't think it did any favors for Gunther either.
yeah.
And now we've
And then
got
you have
Gunther in this weird like Pat McAfee rivalry all of a sudden.
and apparently Scott Steiner is supposed to show up, so I don't know. Maybe Goldberg will show up as well, and then Pat will get a win over Gunther. Um,
God.
Jade and Naomi was like the first women's match ever at WrestleMania that didn't have a title at stake.
Yes. Yeah, that's a big moment for both of them, and
Yeah,
I actually thought, despite some issues with the wardrobe, let's say, I did think the match was fairly decent. I think there were some good spots in there. Jade did quite
Jade
well.
Jade just needs more experience in the ring, especially with her mic skills,
I agree.
because she's like nowhere close to peaking. Like she's pretty much at the point where she's still kind of like learning in a lot of ways.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, the what is it, Grande Americano,
Oh
that
God.
match,
Yeah.
like having like Ray Phoenix come in and lose was kind of, I don't know, I
I
think not
think
good for
that
his
you
setup.
know Mysterio obviously got a genuine injury,
Yeah,
and I think that they were
but
just caught in a bind.
if they were going to make him lose, if they were going to make Americano win, it
Yeah,
should have just been Dragon Lee.
it should have. Yeah, that would have made more sense.
Because
Yeah,
having like a brand new talent like Ray Phoenix come in and take the L
who
just
who
didn't.
actually came in with a lot of kind of people liked what they saw immediately from him. So yeah,
Yeah,
that was a weird choice. However, my personal favorite match of the entire WrestleMania was the triple threat main event from night one.
yeah, it was really good.
I thought that was amazing. Like I think all three men did really well. Yes, the story part of it was quite predictable, and I think anyone paying attention knew that it was going to go that way. But it
Yeah,
made sense. It made sense, and they did it well. And like there was that moment of, oh, maybe this isn't going to go the way that I expected, and so that they did really well with that, and what they seem to be doing with Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker following WrestleMania is quite interesting to me. I think it's particularly helpful for Braun Breaker. I think that's the right move for him, is put him with someone with a
Yeah,
lot of experience.
they they mentioned that they weren't going to add anybody else because they didn't want it to fall in line like the same like three-person staple.
Yes,
Um, but like it would almost be great for them to put Becky Lynch in there
I agree. I agree with
because then
that, yeah.
they could have a title on like each member essentially.
Yes.
Then we had AJ Styles and Logan Paul. That match felt okay, but I think
It
Karrion
felt
should have
like
been
it
involved a
was
bit more.
it to me that match felt like it was there just to give Logan Paul a match. Like
Yeah,
it didn't really feel that consequential at all. I liked the carrying cross bit. I actually think he did really well when he came out and he was like, smack him, He was I thought he was really good. I wish they would do more with carrying cross because I do think that when they give him something to do, he's interesting and he does
yeah,
clearly try and make the best of it, but for whatever reason they've sort of watered him down to be this little side character who maybe
yeah. Like
pull.
he had a match. He had a match recently. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Dragon Lee. And he lost.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I don't know. It's
And,
Karrion's in a
and I
weird
mean,
spot.
and it's weird as well because the story they seem to be telling of with him is almost like he's a fortune teller where he knows exactly what's going to happen. Like there was that interaction between him and the New Day where he kind of was telling the New Day for months, you got to change your ways. You can't, and then they change their ways and they become champions again. And then I wonder
Yeah,
if the same sort of thing is going to happen with AJ, whether that's going to be like a long form storytelling type thing. But it's
yeah,
just weird because it's like if that's where you're going with Carrion, surely you want to give him some wins to make him look stronger and like a
or just put him
meaningful
on TV.
yeah, it's so strange. I'm glad that
Yeah,
he did get involved at Mania, but I think they could have done more even with that personally.
yeah. Drew beat Damien in the street fight. Io retained her title.
That surprised
Um,
me. I'll be honest. That did surprise me.
I I didn't. It didn't surprise me because I don't think you put the belt on Io to just have it be taken away at Mania. So for me, I thought that she was going to retain it.
And can I just say
Um,
that was a really good triple threat match as well.
that should have been the main event.
It should have. It should.
It should have been the main event. The Cena and Cena beating Cody, like that was just a garbage match.
It was.
I
It
think
really
Dominic,
was.
yeah, Dominic getting the win in the Fatal Four Way was great, especially since he pinned Finn Balor.
Yeah, I liked that as
And
well.
then Lyra Valkyria came out, and her surprise teammate was Becky Lynch, and then they won. And then on Raw they lost because Becky Lynch was playing like this game of like wanting to torture Lyra Valkyria. So then, even though Liv and Raquel lost the titles at Mania, they got them back on Raw. And then Liv's out filming a movie, and who
Yes.
knows how the titles are going to be. I'm not sure. The last match to talk about was kind of one that was really, really good. And that was the fact that Randy Orton, his
Yes.
mysterious
I I
um,
I was
opponent was
so happy.
Joe Henry. Hmm?
I was so happy when that happened. And then
Yeah, no,
it's
it was great because like you see the doors open and then it's like say his name and then he pins around and just the crowd just goes
and
nuts
Randy
and
was like doing a little dance to the Joe Hendry music as well.
yeah, it was great. Like honestly, like I would love one match at Mania now to be a surprise opponent
Yeah, yeah, that would
because
be a
that
cool
was
tradition.
great.
Yeah, and
Because
also
like
the
you
way
have no idea what you're expecting.
what I liked about that match as well is it was short and sweet. but they made Joe Hendry look reasonably strong. Like at the end of the day, he was in the ring with
Yeah.
Randy Orton, one of the biggest names in the history of the industry.
Yeah.
And then the way they made him lose that match was like, yeah, he nails his signature pose. Here
Oh,
comes
that
Orton
that
out.
RK, that was the best framed RKO of all time. Because
Yeah,
he turns and you see Randy Orton come off the thing and just boom, like it was so well shot. Um, but yeah, it was
it
like
was brilliant.
it was a solid match. And even Joe Hendry was like everyone's saying like, oh, like why'd he come on there to lose? He's like, no, he's like, if anything, that's raised my stock.
Yeah, it has. At the
Like
end of the day, he was on WrestleMania before he still hasn't got a full-time WWE contract. You know, he's under
yeah,
he's under
and it's
contract
the
with
first time a
TNA,
TNA
and
star.
it's like that's amazing. That's a huge thing that
Yeah,
it will never be forgotten. Like first time a
yeah,
TNA wrestler has ever appeared on WrestleMania, and not only that, but he got to fight Randy Orton. Like and what a weird circumstance that is, you know, because we all know that Randy was meant to face Kevin Owens, and
yeah,
Kevin Owens got a potentially very severe injury.
yeah. Yeah, he could be out for like at least a year.
Yeah. So and you know that's a real shame because those two were clearly working very hard for quite a while on an interesting story there. But in the dark, they managed to find a really cool moment with Joe Hendry, and it was really good, really good. And I think that when Joe Hendry does inevitably become like a full time WWE wrestler once his TNA contract finishes up and everything, which I believe is at some point later this year, or
Yeah,
that's the expectation at least. I would imagine that he's going to be one of the bigger, more popular stars quite quickly based on the reactions he's had so far in just the few appearances that he's made.
yeah.
So,
He was at Rumble and then now at Mania,
yeah.
and
And I did see
yeah,
him on a podcast where he talked about because his genuine childhood idol was John Cena. So he talked about how at some point this year he'd really like to face John Cena before Cena finishes up. And if they can pull that off somehow, that would be really cool. Like that.
like honestly, that's the kind of thing. Like we have Saturday Night Main Event coming up at some point,
Yeah.
and that would be a good one because it's not Raw, it's not SmackDown, it's not a
Yeah.
PLE, it's that NBC
Yeah,
Saturday Night Main
precisely.
Event.
It's just kind of like a special, right? It's like a TV special. And you can kind of do anything there because nobody like yes, those events do take into consideration stories and happenings, but
Yeah.
a one-off match like that isn't gonna hurt. So yeah, it would be
Yeah, like
interesting to
Cena
see
could
what
do
happens there.
like a challenge type of stuff. It's like who in the locker room, whatever, wants a
Yeah,
shot at this or whatever, and then
yeah.
boom, you just have
Just
the
have
opening go.
Joe
And,
Hendry be the ultimate like surprise opponent for everybody.
yeah, just every single time. Yeah, ladies tag team match, ladies tag team match partner. Boom, Joe Hendry comes out.
But
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
I
no, it's
have been enjoying wrestling thoroughly recently. I think as we've kind of moved on from the bloodline stuff and they've started to do other things, it has become more interesting again. I think they've
well,
clearly
two of them were
made
injured, so they pretty much had to like
that's
get rid of the
true.
bloodline
That's
stuff.
very true.
I mean,
And
it
I
seems like they're doing a solo versus Fatu, but that thing has been slow going.
yeah, and I think that that's the one mistake I would argue that they're making right now is too much of the storytelling is the slow burn stuff. And I think you can get away
Yeah.
with that for some of your stories, but you need some stories that are faster paced as well. And right now, I don't think they're doing those fast paced stories either often enough or well enough to actually supplement the longer paced stuff they're doing. So hopefully they
Mm.
can get that
And
sorted out.
they also let go of a like 15
They
people.
did actually, yeah. Forgot I saw that the other day. Like Braun Strowman, I know is gone.
Uh,
Shayna Baszler is gone as well.
yeah, so they got rid of Braun Strowman, Shayna Baszler, Dakota Kai, Kaden Carter, and Katana Chance. NXT they got rid of Cora Jade, Gigi Dolan, Gallus, Eddie Thorpe, Riley Osborne, and Jakara Jackson.
Yeah, that's a
But
lot
Dakota
of
was
people.
surprising.
That's a lot of people, and I would say that there are a few surprising ones there. Braun doesn't surprise me too much because they did actually release him in the past and then re-sign him again.
There's a
But
Yeah, there was a rumor that one of the reasons that his contract was not up is because they felt like they were paying him too much, like
interesting.
for
Okay.
what they were doing. And the stupid thing is that was the reason he was released before.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
like the same thing.
And I
Dakota
also think
is
that
surprising for me.
Dakota is really cool. I think maybe that has come down to she seems to be quite injury prone, and
Mm,
potentially that, I'm just speculating, but potentially that has caused some sort of decision making there. However, I also think that one thing to be aware of is that they've also, as announced at WrestleMania, they have acquired AAA, which is a Mexican wrestling federation,
yeah,
and therefore they have a lot more wrestlers to pay for just by default at this point because they have acquired this company. So as soon as I saw that, I knew that some kind of redundancies were going to come along. But I'm
hmm
surprised at some of the names on that list, and I'm also surprised that it was quite so many because like 15 is a lot. you
yeah,
know, it is a lot, and hopefully, I mean, luckily we live in a time of wrestling again where there are various companies out there where these people can go and work, and that wasn't always the case back in the kind of mid 2000s. There wasn't really any competition for WWE, so unless you were
oh yeah.
working there, it was hard to
Like
make your money.
apparently there's offers already for Dakota coming
Yeah, I
in,
saw
so we'll
that.
see
Yeah,
how that
apparently
goes.
she has an offer from like everybody. It would be quite interesting if she ends up in TNA and then shows back up on like NXT because of the TNA and WWE working partnership.
Yeah,
Just like, yeah, we
no,
just send her to TNA.
pretty much. We'll trade you for Joe Hendry.
Yes.
Yeah,
But yeah,
but
I
yeah,
think
no,
I
and I
think
mean
that's
like
kind
we got
of it for the wrestling, isn't it? Is there anything else big that we haven't talked about yet?
I mean Backlash is looking pretty boring. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't look like there's like a lot of decent matches.
I mean, I will say, weirdly, I think the Orton Cena match will be a good one because
Yeah,
I think
the
those
last
guys
time
just
that they're
have is going to be their last ever match most likely, and they also have a lot of chemistry and history that you can use that both before, after, and in the match itself. So I think there's some interesting things they can do there. But the problem is, as always with these kind of matches, you know that there's no way Orton is winning. Like, Orton isn't winning that belt.
hmm
And that's the
and then you got
problem.
what do you got here? Jacob against Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, and LA Knight in a fatal four way.
Yes.
Um, what do we got here? Intercontinental Championship, Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch. I'm pretty sure Becky's probably going to win there.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Pac McAfee versus Gunther. I still think something's going to happen on that match.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
So
I
I'm
mean, I'm
think
pretty sure that Gunther's going to win, but
yeah. So I'm thinking of it two ways. Either Gunther is going to win in a way that he essentially destroys Pat, to write Pat off of TV again for a while, because I know that Pat does do some stuff with American football at a certain time of year.
yeah.
so he might go away again for a while. And I've actually come, like, I like Pat a lot. I know some people don't, but I think
I
that
don't mind him sometimes. I
Pat
just think
should
he
be
repeats so
reserved.
much stuff.
Yeah. I think he should be reserved for specific occasions at specific events and almost make it like a special thing rather than him being there all of the time, because I think it can become a little bit tiring, and I think even some of the other commentators sometimes sound like they get a little bit tired of Pat because he sometimes seems like he can sort of get in their way a bit.
Yeah,
So yeah, I kind of suspect that this is their way of writing Pat off of television potentially, for a little while. I mean, I'm happy to see them doing something a little bit different, as in kind
yeah,
of giving the commentators more personality. And the bit where they said like Michael Cole was saying, backstage, oh, if we can't share our opinions, what's the point? I like that they're making the commentators characters within the show itself. However,
yeah.
I think it's weird that it's Gunther because Gunther was just one of your main champions. And yes, he lost at WrestleMania, but it feels like a massive step down for him.
Well, I mean, honestly, even when he was champion, he had no credible fight through his
Yeah,
entire reign. Like he
yeah,
had no match that was against somebody that was even like remotely in his caliber there.
yeah,
Um,
true.
but I think with I'm trying to think where I was going with it. Um, yeah, I think having it as one of the five matches though, like feels stupid. It should
Yeah,
have just been like a sixth match because Triple H is obsessed with five matches. Just
yes.
have this as the sixth one because this match is obviously going to be like 3.5 minutes long.
Yeah, I know what you mean. The only other way I can think about it is if it's the opposite thing where somebody actually helps Pat to win, and that leads to a bigger feud for Gunther. And my thinking on
Yeah,
that
like
is it could be Goldberg, because we have heard that Goldberg is going to have one final match at some point, a
yeah.
proper
I mean,
retirement match.
like Steiner is there, and him and Steiner are good friends because like Goldberg, I think trained Braun Breaker or something like that. Like there
Yeah,
was like there's some type of like
there's
history
some
there.
sort of connection,
So
yeah. Well,
yeah, I mean there's
it'd be
tons of stuff that
interesting
could
to
happen.
see, and obviously we'll keep everybody up to date with our wrestling thoughts in the weeks and months to come. But we're really here for gaming, and we've been doing a lot of it in recent times, Jeff. So where should we start? Do you want to start? You kick us off.
Sure. There's one game that I kind of wanted to talk about on the podcast just because it's an early access game and I didn't really want to like put like a full review together until kind of like the game comes out. It is called. Let's bring it up here. I'm just bringing up the PR stuff just because like so I can talk about it in full here. It's called Asgard's Fall. This is basically a like Vampire Survivors style game, but it's Vikings. So it's basically if you took that Jotun Slayer game that I played a little while ago, which was a Viking Vampire Survivors game, and you deconstructed it, and so that it, instead of it looking like Diablo 4, this one here looks like it could have been on the Game Boy Advance. Like it is incredibly pixelated. The character is probably comprised of like 9 little pixels, um, and basically so like you fight on like so you the write-up basically says embark on an epic saga in Asgard's fall, a Norse survivors like roguelite. Fight your way through the hordes of creatures and let the gods feel your relentless wrath. How will your saga unfold? So basically, you'll choose from like a warrior. There's a huntress that you can unlock. There's I think like a mage caster who I haven't tried yet, just because I've been just trying to build up the warrior there. It's got the same kind of things where as you're killing creatures, you're getting gems, and those gems then basically will unlock the ability. It'll give you like a choice between three abilities. And The abilities will vary depending on a lot of like Asgardian like folklore and like lore and stuff like that. So you've got like the Thor stuff and the Loki stuff. Like you've got basically those types of things where you're fighting with like ice, you're fighting with like electrical charged pillars that show up, or like rolling like little fire tornadoes and stuff that are going around. And the one that I like the most is like these almost like lances, like you're throwing like these giant spears. That particular one, if I don't get it in a run, I die and start over. It's that good. Trying to defeat the boss, like you get a mini boss at about 9 minutes, and then at the 20-minute mark you get the main boss. And if you don't kill the mini boss by the time that you get to the main boss, you're fighting them both at the same
Oh
time, and it's a
wow,
shit
okay.
show. The ability system is pretty neat because like you'll pick your general skills, but occasionally you'll get these like I guess little icons that go on this thing called the Web of Weird. Now the Web of Weird is something. It's not just created for this game. I mean, like Hellboy's interacted with the Web of Weird as well, but this one's a little bit different, where you get these skills, and it's kind of on this like this skill tree where it's slanted, so you it almost looked like a chain link fence. And then basically what it is that you'll slot your abilities next to other abilities, and some abilities will actually feed from being surrounded by more abilities. And then there's other abilities that if you place it next to it, it will then enhance one of the ones that are next to it depending on where the pattern is. And so you can kind of like move these abilities around when you've unlocked them to make them stronger. And it's a variety of things like your burn damage does more. The you have more health, you have more armor, you can speed, you can dash more. But again, this is like a super hyper pixelated game. Like it is, it literally looks like it just be on the Game Boy Advance. As you progress and start unlocking more, you'll get war paints. And they say it's a meta progressional system where you unlock war paint runes that modify and amplify your character's abilities. It features an inventory management system, so like when you're adjusting your inventory in Diablo, challenge you to fit as many effective runes as possible into a limited space. So if you have one that takes up four and then one that takes up one and one, you can place them in different spots. The war paints do different things. They maximize your abilities of playstyles and strategies. War paint runes can be found during battle or crafted using pigments looted from enemies or discovered in Yggdrasil's gift caches. There's also a skill tree that you, every time you get points, you put that into your skill tree. That boosts your health, that boosts your defense. Those are your permanent unlocks. This game gets can get absolutely crazy, just like Vampire Survivors, where like the first 5 minutes it's basic stuff, and then 15 minutes in it just looks like
Yeah.
a rave. Like it just looks like disgusting. But it is super pixelated. I haven't been able to defeat the last boss. I got really, really close. It just like this is a snake, and it wraps you in a circle, and you only have that battlefield, and there's no heals.
Oh wow.
So you're surviving on the health that you have left. Now, with us in early access, we basically have a play it now, wait for updates, or avoid it. For me, this is the type of game where I think it's great, kind of as it is. It, for me, it's still a wait for updates, mainly just because I want to see what this game can kind of evolve into. Because like, I absolutely love Jotun Slayer. That game was great. It looked like Diablo 4 and it was Vampire Survivors and it was fantastic. I absolutely love that game. And that's also in early access. Yeah. This one here is like, yeah, it's the deconstructed version of that. It has the same gods, similar powers, the same basic kind of format. It almost feels like, you know, one was copying the homework of the other type of thing. But
Yeah.
if you are looking for like the retro type of Vampire Survivors, this game is great. It is going to satisfy what you kind of want from that. But if you could choose between two early access Vampire Survivor games that are both Vikings and stuff, Jotun Slayer still gets my my vote.
Interesting. Okay.
But it's not a bad looking game. But like you look at the trailers and it's like, again, it's a super pixelated version of like a Vampire Survivors. Like the main character literally looks like he's like 9 pixels and swinging a sword. Like When you switch characters, you're like, sure, I think I switched characters. I can't tell.
That's fair.
But all the
That's fair.
enemies and stuff look neat. When you have a whole bunch of them piled up, it's just little health bars, like
Well,
over top of
I'm
the
going
enemies.
to transition you now very nicely because you obviously have been talking about an early access game, and there's something else that I played several months ago, but I know you've tried out recently. That is still technically an early access game, but just came to Xbox very recently and Game
Mm,
Pass. And that is Towerborn, and that is something that I will still be reviewing, but I kind of wanted to wait for because I played it on the very first release on PC, and I wanted to
yeah.
wait for a few updates until it was kind of available on console so that I could then give it a more definitive review. So that will probably be our first true kind of early access full review kind of situation. But yeah, what? Tell me, Jeff, what do you think of it based on what you've played so far?
I think that it has the promise of being something very, very interesting. It's basically like fantasy Streets of Rage.
Yeah,
Like that's basically what it is. Um, and I think like the game is good. I think it's got some really clever classes in terms of what you're doing. Like I'm playing with like the big giant gloves, so I'm doing like the big elbow drop when I run and jump,
nice.
and then like I do like the clap, and then basically everybody just like flies everywhere. I think it's great. I do have one major concern though, and it's something that I've seen echoed throughout other people talking about it.
Okay, go on.
Your first 10 hours with this game, you'll fight in two areas.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Like because you have this big area and you have all these little zones that are honeycombed, and every single area is almost the exact same map. Sure,
Hmm.
it changes things up, it looks different, but it's still the exact same forest, the same backgrounds, the same
Yeah.
everything. It doesn't feel like you're moving onto new areas fast enough.
Hmm.
And that's my big issue is like I've played this game for probably about 10 or 15 hours
Yeah.
and I've seen two areas.
That's fair. I mean, that's definitely a fair criticism. I think that luckily, that is probably something that they can address over the early access period because, as you
Like
said, that is a piece of feedback I know they've been getting from other people as well.
Yeah,
I
the other little issue I have as well is I kind of wish that the dismantling and crafting system was a bit more intuitive because I hate having to go to a dismantle menu and
Yes,
then select things and then back out of things and then dismantle,
I agree
and
with
then you
that.
always get that little warning. Like I kind of wish it was just a little bit more streamlined.
Yeah,
Um, it's also not really explained well enough how these little battle pass things work.
yeah, I agree with that because I found that confusing when I first played.
When I went into the store, I'm like, oh, I can buy this. How am I buying this? Okay, is it, yeah? Okay, I guess I'm doing this.
So
Like,
obviously I haven't played for a while, so I know that since I played, the game has actually received two big updates on the PC at least, and I don't know whether the console version is in line with the PC version or not. I'd have to check that,
well, there's,
but
there's crossplay, so I would assume.
I would assume so. Yeah, maybe we have to try that out at some point actually. See how well
Yeah,
it
it's
functions.
good. Like, it is very good. Like, this was it will transition to the next game. Um, with this as well is this was the game that I also got confused with 33 Immortals.
That's fair. I still
Like,
haven't played that yet, by the way, and I really want to.
yeah, like no, I'm like I am absolutely enjoying Towerborn. I think visually it looks really cool. Like the character creator is okay. I don't think it's amazing,
I'd
but I
agree.
did manage to get kind of what I wanted out of it. I do wish that there was a better way of showing the characters that you can interact with in the map, in terms of like they show up on the sides and stuff when you need a quest and stuff, but the problem is there's so much UI that is kind of blocking that in some ways as well too, that I kind of wish that there was just better ways of determining it, like even if there was like a compass at the top that had like the character portraits, and the closer you got to it was the center or something, like just something that made it a little bit easier to kind of find out where you have to go and the people you have to talk to. But no, like I think the game is great. I'm playing the crap out of it. Like I'm playing usually about an hour at least. The one thing that I really, really want, and this is my biggest want, is when you go into these areas which are kind of like their strikes, like Destiny strikes, where they're a little bit more challenging. They tend to end with a boss. They're like
Yeah,
these like ventures. The ventures need matchmaking, dude.
I'd agree. I'd agree with that.
Like you can create a party to do ventures and stuff, but I kind of want just a like drop in, drop out matchmaking for ventures. You just
And I
drop in, you
do,
don't have to worry
and I
about people
think,
interacting.
and to be fair, I think that's something that by the time they hit full release, I would expect that to be there. So yeah, but for now, to give you a little break from talking, because I know you have many other games to talk about, I'll throw a couple in that I've been playing because, as you know, Jeff, I'm currently kind of catching up on a few things that I was behind on thanks to my PC not working. So I've been playing Lost Records Bloom Rage. I actually decided to replay Tape 1 because it's been a while since I was able to play it and I just wanted to sort of refresh myself. And I'm only part way into Tape 2 at the minute, and I have to say, so far, I much prefer Tape 1.
Yeah,
Like,
I didn't like day two at all.
yeah, Tape 1 is definitely better, and I don't know whether, minor spoilers for the game, I don't know whether it's because in Tape 1 you're still figuring out what the mystery actually is, right? You're still. It's kind of like the intrigue is there with Tape 1, and then by the time Tape 2 comes around, you sort of know what it is, and.
I disagree. I don't think you even know kind of what the mystery is to a certain degree, even with tape two. Um,
Interesting.
like it's sort of weird. Like you do get a basic idea of kind of what's going on, and there is some stuff that's explained. But no, it's just like tape two is drastically shorter than tape one.
Yeah, you did tell me
And
that, yeah.
and you don't really have much player agency in this one at all. Like you don't have like it's everything that made the first tape so for the tape one so good
Yeah.
is not here. Most of the character development is kind of thrown out the window to kind of force the story along. There's
Yes.
parts where it's kind of like, hey, yeah, let's go do crimes, and you're like, sorry, what? They're like, yeah, we're gonna burn this place down. Oh, oh, yeah,
That
okay.
makes no
There's no,
sense,
there's
yeah.
no no, there's no no. I can't no. Okay, we're gonna do this. All right, we're doing this. And they kind of
Yeah.
hint at in the first one. They're like, oh, they blamed blah 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 for the
Yeah.
fire. So it's like you knew that part was coming. Like it
Of
foreshadows
course.
that
Yeah,
particular
of
part.
course.
Um, and then they had this little puzzle thing at the beginning where you're like trying to stack a box and stuff like that. That felt just so out of place. I don't know. Like tape one was good for setting up the characters.
Yeah.
Tape two puts the characters in very kind of a complex situation that they've never really had to deal with, which
Yeah.
is interesting. But then they don't really do anything with it.
Yeah. I feel like for me so far, Tape 1 was just a lot more engaging, whereas I don't find myself pulled. Like, I've only played a little bit of Tape 2 because I kind of played it after finishing Tape 1 last night for the second time.
Yeah.
And I just don't feel myself gravitating back towards it. And I don't know whether that's because I just have a lot of other things to play and do, or
Yeah.
whether it's just because it's not very good. I can't decide yet. But we'll see.
Yeah. Like it's not long, like
Yeah.
at all. Like
I mean,
I almost beat it in one sitting.
wow, okay.
Like, cause like when I was done playing it, whatever, cause it came out basically like when everybody else got access to it. We didn't get it early or anything.
Yes,
And
yeah.
so when I wrapped up for the night, I pulled up a playthrough to find out where I was and how much time I had left. And I had like an hour and 15 minutes left.
Wow,
So
okay.
I got home the next day, beat it, and I was like, this
Nice. Yeah.
is
I
so
mean, I expect
disappointing.
to beat it within the next few days. I will be doing a review of it for the Outer Haven because I was originally going to review Tape 1 and Tape 2 separately, but because I didn't have my PC, I couldn't review Tape 1 properly at the time. So I'm going to do a full review of the entire package when I get that done. And then there's a couple of things. There are a couple of other things I've been playing in my absence. One of them I guess I'll be reviewing for us, and it's going to be an easier one to review because we all know what this is. But recently, if you didn't know, there was an Oblivion remaster which shadow dropped, kind of.
I think it's a remake. That thing's a remake. Like they
Yeah,
rebuilt the visuals from the ground up. There's nothing that's been remastered. Like
yeah, I know.
remastered is when you take like original assets
Yeah,
and
I
essentially
agree.
make them look better.
I agree.
I don't know why. I think mainly just because like they felt like they didn't change any of the core
I
stuff
th-
that they
yeah,
felt
I
was
think it's because the core game is the same, right? And
yeah,
but my thing is the reason I would classify it as a remake is because they did make quality of life changes, like the way that kind of skills work is slightly different. UI is completely different. Like there are significant differences, but I think the problem is we're in this weird. If we can tangent for a second, I think we're in this weird time for gaming where, because the bar for what a remake can be has been set so high by the likes of Resident Evil 2 and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and so on, because
yeah,
those are full on remakes of the video games. Like they add significantly
yeah,
different things. They do you know
yeah,
what I mean? It's they are full on remakes, whereas this is kind of like more than your traditional remaster, but maybe not enough to be considered a remake by modern standards. Whereas if this had come out 10 years ago, we would all be calling it a remake. You know, it's,
yeah,
because by definition,
yeah.
it technically is a remake. It's a weird one. It is a weird one where
Yeah, I
marketing
played a little
terms
bit of
just
it.
don't match up. Yeah, so have I. I've only played a bit so far because there is something else that I really want to play that I think you're going to talk about shortly, Jeff. But yeah, so
Probably.
I've played a bit of Oblivion. It's Oblivion. It does scratch that sort of Elder Scrolls itch for now, and I think it's a good release for them. I think it's just as fun as it was before, and I think that if you've never played it, if because let's remember, there's a whole generation of gamers now that literally were not alive when that game came out. Do you know what I mean, Jeff? Like, so if you're a gamer who maybe you played Starfield and enjoyed it, or maybe you've played Elder Scrolls Online and enjoyed that, or even if you're someone who missed Oblivion and Skyrim was your first, this is a good chance to revisit an absolutely classic game. And as much as everyone raves about Skyrim, and I still think that overall as a game, Skyrim is probably the better game, there are definitely things that Oblivion does better than Skyrim does.
Hmm.
So therefore, I would definitely recommend checking it out if you haven't played it before, for certain. But I will
It's
have a
a
more full on review about whether it's a good remaster slash remake as I play a bit
yeah,
more of it.
and I mean it's also a good indication of what Elder Scrolls 6 is going to look like because it's running off the Unreal Engine that
Very true. Very
the
true.
third
Yeah.
Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be running. So
So
it's
Jeff,
going to
I'm
be
gonna
good.
ask you. I'm gonna give you the floor again for a minute, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
ask you what is the game that you've played recently that you think I really want to play.
Um. Sorry, my dog and cat are just having this little war right now.
Oh,
They're like
okay.
just wrestling. I think they're trying to um, reenact parts
John
of
Cena and
WrestleMania.
Cody.
Bam. There we go. Um. Well, I mean, like there's a fair amount here.
Which one do you think it is, Jeff? Come on. Come on, it's not that hard.
Do we do we want to jump right into the big one? Is
Yeah,
that what
go
we're doing?
on. Go on.
All right. Yeah, Expedition 33. Claire Obscure,
Yes.
Expedition
Tell me
33.
how amazing this
Um,
game is, Jeff. Without story
oh, it's
spoilers. Obviously, I know the basic setup of the story, so talk
yeah,
about that. That's
it is.
fine.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a reason this game is doing so good. Um, like it hit like 1 million players within like 3 days.
Yes.
I think it had like 150,000 concurrent on Steam or something at some point.
Yeah.
Um, this game is like absolutely incredible. So basically, this is made by I think it's like Sandfall Interactive,
It's their first game, right?
and it's their first game, but it's not the first game that they've made. So these were a lot of the people that were so basically what it is that when they started in 2021 it was like 15 people and a lot of them were like first time developers. They've never worked on anything before. They all came from Ubisoft, and then they branched out and they basically ballooned up to 33
Yeah.
team members,
Hence the name
and
of the game, right? Because the
they
core team
basically
is
this is
33 people.
yeah. I mean, there are like contractors and all that stuff. You're going to
Yes.
find that everywhere, even games that are like it's made by a solo dev. Most
Yeah.
of the time, there are contractors.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
this game is proof that you don't need 700 people to make a game that looks AAA. This game has some of the best facial capture I think I've ever seen. Now, the lip syncing is not amazing. That's the only thing that I will say that is a massive critique on it. But these characters do some facial expressions that I don't know if I've ever seen in a video
Just
game.
just
Like,
a quick note on that, because you mentioned the lip syncing. I am aware, and I don't know if this affected your playthrough or not, but I am aware that there is some sort of bug or issue with the lip syncing on Xbox for sure, and possibly on PC as well. Because I was discussing this with the person who reviewed the game for the Outer Haven, and it's something to do with the frame rate. Apparently, is causing the lip syncing issue, and the dev team are
okay,
very aware of it. But hopefully, that's something that should be fixed in the future. If you're someone that hasn't played the game yet, so yes,
yeah,
please carry
no,
on about
it's
the amazing facial capture and
yeah,
performances.
like it does like the little things. Like you'll see characters just kind of like you'll see like just little subtle face movements where they're like, yeah, we need someone loud, and Gustav will be off to the side. It's like Gustav, he's like, oh, like he does like those little types of things and stuff, or like you can read what their expression is saying more so than I think I've seen in most games that have 4 to 5 times the budget, 4 to 5 times the people.
Yeah.
Like this team basically has crafted an absolutely stunning looking game. It's an
Yes.
Unreal Engine 5, and it's a incredibly small team.
And
So
do you know
basically,
what
what it
strikes
is,
me about this game as well? And you can tell me whether this is true or not, Jeff. But
yeah,
it's very clearly inspired by old school RPGs. But then they've
yeah,
made it their own thing at the same time, right? 'Cause they've done
yeah. Like
something with the
this is
gameplay.
this is very similar to kind of like the RPGs that we were getting on like the PS2. But again, like it's turn based, but it's not turn based. Like it's weird. Like it is. It's like if you took like Persona and like Sekiro and just combine that into a turn-based game. Like it
Fair.
it has mechanics of fighting games. It has mechanics of Souls-like games. Like you can parry attacks as they happen. You can dodge attacks as they happen. You can jump ground attacks and pull off like a counter. Your parries will counter if you parry every attack in the combo. You have gradient parries, which are a different attack. You have gradient attacks, which are a different attack. And all of it is just you can just pull up a gun basically and start, or like not a gun, but I mean some type of projectile type of thing, and basically shoot at certain things, and then go into your attacks. And everything is interactive in regards to how all of it works. And so
So,
not only
so
do
it's
you
almost
have this,
like an active turn-based game rather than a passive one. That's kind of
if
what
you're
it sounds
familiar with
like.
like Paper Mario, where if you press the button when the attack happens, it does more damage,
Yeah.
there are button prompts that pop up that you can press to do more damage, or there's an accessibility setting which will auto do them.
Interesting. Okay.
You can play on, there's various difficulty modes in regards to like,
Yeah.
where you want the challenge on that way. But the game is kind of as hard or as easy as you kind of want, because you also have these things that are called pictos, and the pictos are similar to like materia in a way, where you're like equipping them to your person, and then they do different things. So each character can have 6 pictos, and those pictos will have stats. So one pictos will be like, oh, you're allowed to attack a second time on each base attack. So then you're attacking twice on every turn. And that one will do like 200 defense and 15 speed.
Interesting. Okay.
Once you've used it 4 times, you've mastered it. You can remove it, you lose the stats, but you can keep the passive if you have the points to allot to it. So
Interesting.
if you have 80 points, you can put in like 5 or 6 or 8 of the best Pictos, or a whole bunch of tiny ones. And as long as you've mastered it. So if you have, I have one where every time you die, you resurrect with 200% health
Wow.
once.
Okay.
I have one where every single attack you do it twice. I
Oh.
have one where every single attack you do, you gain health. So I'm getting more health doing those 2 attacks than my healer can give me on her best healing skill.
So there's a lot of depth to this system, is what you're saying.
Yes. The like you can equip 6. So what I usually recommend is equip 6 that have the best stats, and you leave the passives for what you can then equip with the points you have to use those passives. Now, it doesn't do a good job explaining that you have those passives. I've seen a lot of people, like streamers and stuff, where people are like, hey, you can equip those now as your passives. And they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So it doesn't do a good job at explaining that part of it. But once you have everything going, you can create these builds that are disgusting. Like Mayao, basically, if you she has stances. She has a normal stance, a defensive stance, and then she has virtuoso stance. And if she's in
Yes.
virtuoso stance, she does way more damage. So if you have a Pictos that allows her to instantly get into virtuous stance, and then Pictos that then benefit virtuous stance, you can like there's people that are doing 1.3 billion damage
Oh wow.
with her. So like this is the kind of game that has been built to be broken,
Yeah. It's almost
and
like they
people
want
are
you to
breaking
break it, right? They want you to figure out
it. And
how to
yeah,
abuse the
and
system.
every single character plays entirely different. There's a character that's essentially a blue mage, where he will take the feet of enemies and then he can turn into them for their attack.
Okay. Okay.
There's a
So
character that every single time you attack, you build up your rank. And as long as you're untouched, your rank keeps going up. So then suddenly you're
interesting.
doing S rank damage as long as you are not taking damage.
Interesting. Okay. I have a
And
couple
like
of
the,
questions, Chef, about the game.
yeah,
So bear with me. Obviously, as we discussed before, it's very inspired by old school RPGs, JRPGs, that kind of thing. How does it feel to have a world map of a old school traditional style in the year of 2025?
it's good because it allows for a lot of like new areas to find and secrets and stuff. So like you're constantly like either swimming around or flying it eventually, or going underwater. Although it's just diving, it's not there's not like an underwater world or anything like that. And so basically, like what you're doing is like you're kind of traveling around this little area, and there are like secret bosses, there's areas and places that you can go, and then places where it's like, hey, this is a little out past your level, you shouldn't be here yet. Like I watched Maximilian Dude basically defeat a boss that he was about 10 levels back from,
Oh wow.
and when after like 2 hours of fighting this boss, he beat it, and you just see your characters like level up like 5 times. It was hilarious. Um, so like depending on how good you are at the parries and damages and stuff, you can take on a lot of those sections way earlier than you should because you have the ability of like negating damage.
Interesting.
Um, all the characters have their uses. It's a three-person party. Now, my big issue, and probably this is like just me being picky, is I kind of wish it was a four-player team because for the majority of the game you have four people, so there's always one person benched. But if you die, you can send in your reserve team. So
Interesting.
then
Okay.
whoever is on the bench, now they'll gain experience about half as fast. So you'll want to rotate your teams to kind of keep them going. But you'll want to grind in some ways just because you want to get as many Pictos mastered as you possibly can. There's outfits as well, so when you go off the beaten path and do particular challenges and find certain things, you'll find like the beach, and then there's that going up game where you're like jumping on like beds and ladders and school buses. That is in here in one of the beach levels where it's just a bunch of shit, and then you
Oh
get to
my
the top.
god.
And I will say the prize is either the most impressive thing you've seen the game do or the dumbest thing you've seen the game give you.
Interesting. Okay.
It is a prize that I will say will vary depending on the person, and that's all I'm going to say about it. But
Interesting.
um,
I have
backtracking a bit,
I have one more question
go for it.
before you move on.
Yeah.
We know that this game has an amazing voice cast, and
Yes.
you talked about the kind of facial animations earlier and how they say a lot. But what I want to know, without story spoilers, is what are the performances from that voice cast actually like in this video game?
So one thing that I absolutely love is that the voices don't represent the faces of the characters. The characters were designed first. There are motion capture people that share some resemblance to the characters just because they need to line up certain aspects of the face and stuff. But I mean, like, Gustav does not look like Charlie Cox.
Yeah.
That's great. I don't want that. You know,
Yes.
because then you run into the issue with like Judgment, where all of a sudden like, oh, well, do I have to redesign the character? Blah blah blah, like all
Yeah.
these other little things. But the performances are likely probably some of the best I've ever seen in a video game. The
Wow.
the
Okay.
direction, the writing, the dialogue in this game, like it's everything that you kind of want and kind of everything that you kind of expect from like major AAA.
Wow.
Like I will
Okay.
say like the performance in this game is so much better than I think that I've ever seen. Like you get such emotional pull from these characters. Like the first like hour and a half of this game, you are hooked. Like
Okay,
absolutely
so,
hooked.
so
And
I
it's
do.
a
I
lot of
want
it
to go
is
into
because of the
very.
performances.
I want to go into very brief spoiler territory for a minute with the game because I know this anyway. But for people that don't know, what is the basic story setup for what is actually going on here in this game?
Yeah, so basically kind of everything that sums up basically like the first hour. So basically is you live in this city called Lumiere, and Lumiere basically celebrates this festival every year. And there are flowers everywhere. It's bright, it's sunny. There are people everywhere in the streets, and it just looks like they're having this big celebration, this big festival. The problem is this festival, which is called the Grammage, basically what it is it's people saying goodbye to those people who are aged at the number that is painted on a monolith far in the distance. Every year, the paintress comes, she paints a new number, and basically it descends. And so we're sitting at 33, which means that every single person who is going in this expedition that you play as is 32 or younger, because Mayel is 16. So basically what it is that when they turn 13, when the grammage happens, when the number is painted, so some people might be 33 in 8 months, 33 in 4 months. It just is, there's a baseline 33. She paints 32, and as she paints 32, everybody who's 33, poof, into rose petals. They just die. So your mission is to kill the paintress and stop the numbers. And but here's the thing: the people who now would make up Expedition 32, they, every single time a new number is painted, that's the highest a person can live. So eventually it'll get to a point where there's no ability of like kids.
Yeah.
It just won't happen. And so like the longer that you wait to have kids, the less time you have together and so on and so forth. So there's like everybody who's there is essentially an orphan because like their parents are pretty much dead or about to be.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the whole point is get on this expedition, be this expedition, and go and kill the paintress. That's the story. Now it goes places. There are moments that I don't know if I've ever seen in a game that kind of happen. That are these moments that I just sat there with my jaw open. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Wow. Okay.
Like it is like one of the best written stories I've ever seen. Like there are moments where like Gustav is about to say something, whatever, and I'll be like, it's not enough. And then Gustav would be like, it's not enough. Like you just it's that predictable dialogue that you want because you know that that's
Yeah.
how those characters should act.
How they
They're not
actually
saying
should act
stupid
and
things.
think. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. No one's saying like, no one's saying stupid things.
I always
I stopped
say,
watching
I always say that predictable isn't bad when it makes sense.
yeah, and it's like, I used to watch like The Flash on CW, and then the characters were starting to be written so bad and say the
Oh God.
stupid
Yeah.
fucking thing.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, "Why? You're supposed to be the smartest people in the goddamn city and you're doing this? What? It doesn't make any sense." Whereas here, everything that happens is so perfectly done. It is like a master class in how characters interact, how they talk to each other, the dialogue that they use, the tone that they use.
Good.
It is absolutely brilliant.
So basically, because
And
it's so well written, that's probably why they managed to get this amazing cast for this video game.
yeah, I mean, like Charlie Cox, that's the first video game he's ever done. You couldn't tell me that. Holy fucking hell, does he absolutely nail it? But again, the facial capture, the characters, how they interact with everybody, it sells. Everything works together. Like that's one thing about this game is every single thing works absolutely perfect together. When you're in battles, characters will complement each other. Like when a character gets hit and another character doesn't, he'd be like, "Oh, I would have dodged that." Like there's these little moments that are just perfect.
That's really
And this
good to
game
hear.
is like this game is like almost flawless.
Yeah.
There's little things, but they don't interfere whatsoever with
And
how
also,
good this game is.
I think that for a studio's first real game, right? I think that at the end of the day, those small things can kind of be forgiven. Like like when you're a brand new studio making your first thing and you kind of hit so much of it out of the park in the way that it sounds like they have. I obviously haven't played the game yet, but I definitely will be very soon. I think you can kind of forgive the small things because no game is perfect and there's always small things on every game. But we it sounds amazing. I can't wait to play it. I think it's going to be really, really good when I do play it, and hopefully I'll enjoy it just as much as it sounds like you have, Jeff.
Yeah, it's like I'm watching Maximilian Dude play through it, and like so much stuff will happen. He's like, "How does this game keep getting better?" Like
Yeah.
it's so funny.
Yeah, that's good to hear, and I'm glad to see a game like this having tremendous success as well. And then, as a quick side note, I also like the fact that the developers and game studio came out and defended Game Pass a little bit, kind of tongue in cheek, because there was a lot of, obviously, there's always a lot of talk about how Game Pass is really negative for the industry and all this kind of stuff. And basically, the community manager and one of the developers on the game came out and said, Game Pass is part of the reason this game has done so well, because it's allowed a level of exposure for the game that it would not have got otherwise, regardless of how good it was.
Yeah, because like people forget that like you're not just releasing the game on Game Pass for free. Like the developers are being paid like a
Yeah.
lump sum,
Yeah.
and that money goes into development.
Yeah.
And when you have 33 people, or say 40 or 50 people, depending on the contracting states,
Yeah.
that money can sometimes like bring in entire people to work on that game.
Precisely. Yeah, yeah. So I'm really glad. I think that this is clearly, from everything I'm hearing, very likely to be in the conversation for Game of the Year at the end of the year.
Honestly, I think it will take Game of the Year at the Game Awards.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
I don't know if there's any competition this year that's still to come out.
Yeah.
Like even Maximilian Dude was saying he's like this is Game of the Year. There's absolutely no way something is going to come out this year and be that
I
much more
did
impressive.
see. So I did see a lot of people saying that the only game might have been GTA, and that's obviously out of the window now.
Well, like even then it's like okay, let's say GTA is good. What does giving it Game of the Year do?
True. True. It doesn't need it, right?
Absolutely
Yeah.
nothing.
Doesn't need it.
Absolutely nothing, right?
Very
And I
true.
mean, yeah,
Very
yeah,
true.
you can have it like from a technical point of view and the story and all that kind of
Of
stuff, but
course.
it's not
Yeah.
going to change anything.
Absolutely. Well, I have played a couple of other things, and one that we
Yep.
actually played together that I really would like to talk about because we only played it a little bit,
Sure.
was Fragpunk,
Mhm.
because that is a really interesting concept that I believe is still kind of being improved and worked on over time. But I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it when we
Yeah,
played the other day.
it's like if Valorant was fun. And like Fragpunk is very much inspired by Arcane. I mean, the
Yes.
opening cutscene is literally like we can do Arcane too.
Yeah.
And they did. And like it's neat. Like it is a tactical kind of like what is it, 5 on 5 or something like
5 on
that?
5, I believe, and you generally have these like different points that you need to hold or kind of attack. It's but then it's this weird thing where if you eliminate the entire enemy team, you also win the round. So there's different ways of winning
Yeah.
each round, and each of the characters you can play as, I forget what they're called in this game specifically. They
Mhm.
do have a specific name, but each of the characters have their own unique abilities, almost similar to something like Apex Legends or Marvel Rivals. Obviously, Marvel has the Marvel thing going for it, but there is that part
Yeah.
of it here as well.
And the
So,
characters look cool.
yeah, they do.
Like I like a lot of the designs of the characters. I mean, like they're leaps ahead of what Concord was doing.
Yeah. And then
Um
we had the one game which I thought was really interesting because I've never seen, I can't remember seeing this in another game, but it's basically the we were drawing. The two teams were drawing, so it ended up going to like a 1v1 situation. And as a member of your team died, you then had to jump in and take on the next person. And it was kind of whichever team was eliminated in its entirety first was the
yeah, and if you won, you
losers.
kept going. So one guy took three, and then I'm like, oh, this person's gonna kill them. Yep, they
Yeah,
killed them.
yeah,
And then yeah, and then like I was next, and the person won, and I didn't have to
yeah.
lose it for
So
my
and
team.
I thought that was really cool because that kind of leaves these situations open where maybe your team's drawing and then actually you could be down to the last person and the last person on
Yeah,
your team could kill everybody else. So it opens up some interesting kind of gameplay things, But the most
And yeah,
unique
like
feature, of course, of the
yeah,
entire game is the card system, which allows you to basically have different buffs and debuffs and change
yeah, it'll
different
change things.
things.
Like it'll put ice on the map so you can suddenly slide. Like when I first saw this game, I thought that you had individual cards and you were playing them individually,
I
but you
did,
pick them
yeah.
as a team. So
Yeah.
you have points, and then you spend those points at the beginning of the
and you,
round
and
to like
you
buy a
earn
card or
points
buy
based on
two.
what you do in each round. So, like, as you get a
Yeah,
kill, you'll earn more points, or as you complete an objective,
yeah.
you will earn more points. And then
I don't like how. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, some teams save up a lot of their points till later
Yeah.
rounds, and then other teams will use it on kind of cards that don't cost as many points, but they'll have a card in play every round. So there are different
Yeah,
strategies there as well.
and the cards will vary from like, like the enemies having like less health or they can't regenerate or they'll have big heads so that you can headshot them a lot easier.
Yes, yeah.
I don't like how you can't have the same gun as somebody.
Yeah, that's
So like
weird.
I
So, but
my
I did figure out that. So I figured out that system sort of. So each weapon class, so like submachine gun, assault rifle, shotgun, etc. I think you can have two players on the team using a weapon from each class. So I think
okay,
that's
yeah,
what
because
it
like
is. But they don't
yeah, because there was
explain it
one
very
time where
well.
my gun was taken away. Yeah, my
Yeah.
gun was just taken away and I'm like, what? Like, come on. But I mean, like the gameplay feels tight. Like shooting's really, really nice.
Yeah.
The environments are good. I think visually the game has a good look to it. Um,
This is a game that
but
I
yeah,
can see myself playing for quite some time as long as other people are playing it. It will live and die by its audience, of course, but
yeah, it's what I wanted like Valorant to be, but it just didn't. I just couldn't get
yeah,
into Valorant.
yeah. I'd agree with that actually. Like this to me is much more engaging than Valorant, and I think
Yeah,
the
and I mean the powers are neat, and they can add more cards and all that kind of stuff because there's like
yes.
200 cards or
And
something like
also,
that.
eventually, they'll add more modes as well. And that's going to make a
Yeah,
difference, when you've got different modes, because in different modes, you'll have different card strategies that you're going to use. I think that if you ever manage to get like a full squad of players, it's also going to be even more interesting because at that point, you can actually communicate and say, like, oh, let's get this card, or let's save our points and wait for this card, because there are certain cards that you can actually unlock with 1 point, but the more points you put into them, the stronger the card becomes, and
yeah,
those are interesting as well. So it's definitely a game I'll be playing more of, and hopefully it will improve as time goes on. But yeah, I really really enjoyed that. Have you been playing
yeah. It's quite good.
anything else, Jeff?
Too much. I'm just deleting the games here that we're talking about and stuff like that. Um, okay, I've also been playing Fatal Fury: City of the Wolves, which is the return to Fatal Fury after 26 years. I mean, we've had King of Fighters and all that kind of stuff, but we haven't had a Fatal Fury game longer than most people who are participating at FGC. So like, it is basically it's very similar to like King of Fighters 15, like in terms of like some of its look. This one's a bit more comic book based in terms of like how the shading kind of works on the characters. I think it looks a lot better. But no, this is a return to Fatal Fury. So you've got Terry Bogart, you got Rock Howard, you got Mai, who the statue for Mai is like literally right here. And I don't like how her original costume, like that costume, is not in the game. It is, but you can't select it. It's only available during a an attack that she does. Meanwhile, Terry has his classic costume, and you can select it. This has a different type of system than we've seen in the series. It's a completely rebuilt engine, fighting mechanics and everything. The characters still share some of their like classic moves and things like that, so the character identity is not completely gone. But it has this like rev system, so your basic attacks still charge like your super bars and stuff. But as you do supers, it basically revs up the bar, and if you overheat it, you lose access to certain moves. and it makes your character kind of a little bit more vulnerable. But you can do different moves to kind of like balance it down, balance it up. There's like Rev blows, there's Rev excel, there's just defends as well too in terms of like a blocking mechanic, and it just feels good. The action's really fast. The attacks are as flashy as you kind of want it to be. I think the game looks good. I think where it suffers is it just doesn't have a lot of modes. The arcade mode is basically 7 fights. You'll get an ending. Terry's ending is remarkably heartfelt. I don't think I've ever seen an ending in a fighting game like that ever. And for fans of the series, that was a pretty good ending. Then it's got this thing called Episodes of Southtown. And this is like Street Fighter Six's World Tour, but instead of a city to explore, you get a map with icons. So you're not walking around Southtown. It's clearly budget focused. And basically, you click battles that are leveled. As you fight them, you'll level up, which basically puts you on level with all the different fights. The leveling system, in some ways, feels pointless because you're just going to be going into these battles anyways. Like, you can be overpowered for them to a certain point, and maybe that's the point of it to make it a little bit easier. Then you get these like dialogue boxes between characters that is just kind of bland. I kind of wish that with the comic book format that they were doing, that there was at least some type of like visual novel approach where you had really nice artwork with the characters. But no, it just head balloons. But the online's really good. I never really had any issues. I had like a little hiccup in a couple matches, but out of the, I don't know, 10 or 15 matches that I played online, I didn't really have any issues. You could pick like intermediate, beginner, advanced, expert when you're going into casual matches, so you'll get match made with some people. Some people. I went into the beginner, no, whatever the easy, medium, hard, difficult. I went into normal, and they were pulling off some moves where I'm like, "You're not a beginner. Fuck you." Like, it was hilarious, but no, like it is a really good fighting game. I think that this is the type of game that fans of the series and fans of technical fighters and stuff will gather towards. But I don't think this is going to be the mainstream success that Street Fighter is, that Mortal Kombat is, that Tekken is. Those names are way too big. I
I
mean,
think
this
that's
is
the
the
thing,
first
isn't
Fatal
it?
Fury in 26 years.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with fighting games and the fighting game scene is for those people that are really into
Yeah.
it, this will be a big game. But at this
Yes.
point, those names that you mentioned just are so big that they're almost insurmountable, kind of regardless of how good your game is, almost.
Yeah, and there is one really dumb thing in this game, and like I watch a lot of Maximilian Dude, and I agree with it. He was complaining about it as well, and he says that if it's the future of Fatal Fury, he has almost no interest in it, which is, he's one of the main fighting game guys, right?
Yes, yeah,
So if he's
definitely.
saying like this is bad, it's bad. So basically, what it is, I'm going to bring up the review that I'm working on just so I can get the names correct.
Okay, interesting.
So basically, what it is that the game launches with a certain amount of characters, and there's a DLC pack that is part of the main package that you buy, so it's included. But two
Yes.
of the characters that are in this game are real people.
What?
They're real people.
Oh
So
my
this is
god.
right from my review here. While fan favorites like Terry, Rock, and Mai would obviously be part of the main cast, two real life people who are not attached to Fatal Fury whatsoever, apart from one being part of the game's soundtrack, are part of the starting cast. This means that characters like Andy Bogart and Joe Higashi and countless others would be part of future DLC. Bosnian Swedish DJ and record producer Salvatore Ganacchi and Portuguese footballer Cristiano Ronaldo would be launch characters joining the roster of beloved icons. And with Ronaldo having a controversial past, his involvement here just doesn't sit well with many purists who have wanted an all star Fatal Fury cast to be part of this new entry. So you have a DJ. Now, the DJ, he's fun. Like he'll grab a character and he'll start punching and he'll still look at the camera and it's so freaking funny. Like he's actually pretty good. You can play as him in arcade mode. You can play as him in Southtown. His involvement, okay, it shouldn't be a real person, but the character that they made is this weird guest character that kind of works.
Yes.
He feels weird, he feels out of place, but he works. Ronaldo, however, this guy's got a controversial past. Like you type in Ronaldo
Yeah.
controversial past, you will see what happened in 2018, and you'll be like, why is this guy here? 2008 maybe, I don't know. Either way, he's not even usable in episodes of Southtown, and he's not in arcade mode. He's only for verses.
Interesting.
It feels like a character that was just added in at the last minute that they didn't have time to do anything, and it's weird having real lifers in this game.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the guy who is in charge of this game, if he gets his way, we're gonna have Michael Jackson. We're gonna
Oh
have
God.
Bruce Willis. Like
Oh God. I
he
mean,
he wants desperately to put Michael Jackson in the game.
it's weird to me, right? Because, for example, one of my personal favorite fighting game franchise, Mortal Kombat, does quite well with this crossover stuff. But it's because it doesn't use real people. It uses like movie characters and things like that, and it kind of works. Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah, there's like a parody type of feel to those characters,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
But yeah, like you're this just is so weird because this is Fatal Fury coming back. This is Fatal Fury coming back after 26 years, and you
yeah,
got a diverse cast of icons that should be part of this opening thing. And if you're going to do a fun DLC type of thing, like having Pat McAfee
yeah,
as characters in WWE 2K24 and all his little like dumb shit friends, like
yeah.
that's fun for a DLC
Yeah,
pack that
as
is off.
DLC you can get away with that, but taking up spots on the main roster of a game,
Yeah,
especially a game that
like
hasn't been around in
the
so
first
long.
DLC pack has Andy Bogart and Joe Higashi, who were like main people. I mean, Joe Higashi is in the Street Fighter 6 background of the Fatal Fury thing. So like it's so weird to have this. And if we get Michael Jackson in that game, like
Yeah.
what the hell? Like
Yeah,
what
I
are we
know.
doing at that point?
It is weird. It is really weird, and I agree that it's not really the right thing to do. I think that if you handle it in a different way, as you said, position it as DLC, have a nice, fun DLC pack down the line somewhere, I think it would be
Hmm.
received completely differently. But to have it like this, that's not a good look, especially for a franchise that's making a comeback after so long. It's really not a good thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sounds like the game is good at least, so that's
Yeah,
one thing.
it's super fun. I will say that I don't like the main title screen because it makes me feel like my TV's colors are not correct
Oh God.
because it puts the correct colors in one panel as you move around and then washed out colors everywhere else.
Oh
So when I
wow.
first started the game up, I thought my TV's HDR was like fucked.
Oh my
Um,
God.
but I do like how you can change the color of everybody's outfits and then
Nice.
create like your own versions and take those online. So that's pretty neat. Like for everything this game does great, there's like
Yes.
one little thing that it counters on, and the real
Yes.
lifers is just a very very dumb move. And I hope
Fair.
they see this backlash, and I hope they go like, okay, Michael Jackson EXE, let's drag that into the recycling bin.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I know what you mean.
but
So, Jeff, should I talk about a game that I and not very many other people in the world have played? Should I?
is there a certain desert? Is it like a crimson color?
Yes, Crimson Desert, the upcoming game from the studio behind the very famous Black Desert Online.
Yeah, it looks good.
I got to play it, or I got to play a version of it for about an hour and a half
Yeah.
in London a few weeks ago. And the specific demo that I played was more combat focused. So they basically gave us 4 different boss fights to encounter, as well as a
Okay.
small prologue area. So we didn't get to explore the open world elements of the game, although I did see some gameplay of the open world, and they kind of they were very proud of the fact that in one of the boss fights they were like, "Oh, turn around," and I turned around and there was a town completely loaded in, like miles across the map, and he was like, "Yeah, you can go there. It's already loaded in right now," because they've
Mm.
created a brand new game engine specifically designed for open world games. So they're kind of trying to optimize this as much as possible.
So it doesn't have like that, like where you go into a certain game and every village is surrounded by a big giant high wall because it's used to hide all of the assets.
Yeah. So let me kind of go through this because this is an interesting one. It I wrote in my preview that it it takes a lot of inspiration from things like Assassin's Creed, Witcher, those sorts of games, but it is clearly trying to be its own thing because in terms of combat, this is the most complex open world action adventure game in terms of combat that I've ever played because it has combinations like a fighting game to pull off different things in combat. But because of that, there are so many things you can do. So, for example, if you head over to the Outer Havens YouTube channel, you will see an hour of gameplay, and that is actually my gameplay, me playing the game for the very first time. And they gave us the controls in front of us, but that doesn't make them any easier to understand. So it took a while to kind of figure out. But what what I liked about it was you would use a combination of basically your 4 top buttons, your bumpers and triggers, to pull off different types of attacks or counters or parries.
Okay.
But the way it would work is you also had special abilities where pressing more than one of these buttons at a time would pull off like a special attack, but you needed a magic resource to be able to do that. So, and then you had another ability was if you click in the right stick on controller, you could basically force push an enemy and it would paralyze them. But this had a multiple use, right? So in one of the boss fights, I found myself jumping up in the air, force pushing towards the ground, basically sending myself really high up, and then pulling out a bow and arrow with explosive arrows and firing at the boss from across the boss fight arena because these boss fights will take place in an arena similar to like an Elden Ring or something where you are in a specific area and you can technically leave the area because it's an open world, but at least in the demo that I played, and I'm not sure if this is present in the full game, when you leave the area, you'll get a countdown to basically say you're leaving the area, and I assume that if that is in the full game, that means the boss fight will be over.
Mm.
So it's interesting, but each boss had a unique mechanic as well. So one of the bosses was this kind of brutish, big armored guy, and you couldn't really parry his attacks. And if you tried to, he would basically grab you and start doing wrestling moves on you. He would like throw you up in the air. There was environmental destruction. Like he threw me through a wall at one point, just like randomly, or like I did a, I chucked a fire thing at him, and it set this tree on fire, and the tree fell over. So there's like some environmental stuff as well. Then there was another boss that was a woman. She was like a witch, and she could summon minions, like a lot of these minions, not the little yellow ones, but horrible ones that want to kill you. And then there was another boss, the only boss in the demo that I didn't beat, which was basically like this giant crab, like a stone crab, and you had to climb up onto its back, destroy these 3 weak points, then do a combination of buttons to swing yourself around like Spider-Man and send yourself like Samus spinning into this pot on the back of its head to kill it, basically. And
Hmm.
I almost killed it, but I just couldn't get the final combination right because I only had like 20 seconds left of the demo. So I kept trying to rush
Yeah.
it and it just was going wrong. And then the one other boss that I faced was a really quick ninja type boss who would hide in this long grass and then he'd put up these totem poles, and when he had the totem poles up he was basically invulnerable to damage, so you'd have to.
Okay.
And the way I dealt with it was like you can run up to these totem poles and use your attacks to destroy them that way, but I was just
Yeah.
firing explosive arrows at them from quite far away, and then I would like use one of my special attacks with my sword to do some serious damage to him, because when you've got the bow as well, you can actually slow down time. So I found it quite. You can do like the focus mode that you would expect from these kind of games. But
Okay.
then there's more interesting stuff. So I talked about wrestling earlier in this game, and you can grab enemies and throw them around. You can run at an enemy and do a full-on drop kick to an enemy.
Nice.
So there's lots of different things you can do in terms of combat, and then some of the stuff you'll use outside of combat can also be useful in combat. So for example, one of the things we were shown is that when you are playing in the open world, you'll basically at some point have the ability to glide, almost like Zelda Breath of the Wild, things like
Hmm.
that, and you'll glide, but you can use the glide while you're in combat as well. So when you're trying to spin yourself to kill this crab and get the pot on the back, you actually have to use a combination of the glide with another couple of attacks to get this special mechanic to work, basically. And
Okay.
what it made me feel like I was playing a fighting game inside of an open world action adventure game, which
Hmm.
was really interesting. And I don't know how the entire package is going to pan out, but what I would say is the amount of depth they had in the combat, even from the small, like from the four encounters that I had, really surprised me. I think they've got some good boss design. I think it's some people will look at it and go, "Oh, this feels a little dated," but it's dated in that cool way that we always talk about, Jeff. You know how we always say, "Oh, this is a bit like going back to the 360." Certain,
Yeah, I mean, there's certain design pillars that just work extremely good, and
yeah,
like you're constantly going to think back to PS2 and 360 because that was your first experience with those types of
yes,
things. So
yeah.
yeah,
So there's definitely certain elements to these boss fights that remind me of 360 era boss fights. But that's not a bad thing, I don't think. And I can't wait to
yeah,
see more about how the kind of open world plays out. But from what I did see, from what I got to see but not play, again, it's very similar in structure to something like a Witcher or an Assassin's Creed, where you'll go around, you'll hear kind of conversations which might lead you to a quest, or you will encounter someone that has you on one quest, and then while you're doing that quest, maybe you come across someone that gives you a tip about an enemy somewhere, and that enemy might be a boss, that kind of thing. And there are
yeah.
horses in the game, you can go around on a horse. There was a point where the guy is like riding on a horse, and then he jumps off of the horse into midair and starts gliding. And
Mm.
what was really impressive about that is he's gliding down this like bit of terrain and there's no pop in whatsoever. And this goes back to what I'm talking about the game engine. They're clearly using tricks. They're clearly using game engine tricks to do what they're doing,
Yeah.
but the fact that this could be the first ever game engine outside of Rockstar that is actually purpose built for open world video games, I think could be really interesting because
Hmm.
it could make a real difference to the genre, and I can't wait to see what they're going to do. I did ask the
Yeah, 'cause-
developers about the release date as well, and what they said is at the moment they are still kind of holding firm that it is coming out this year, but they don't have an exact
yeah.
date yet. So yeah,
Well, I mean, now that Grand Theft Auto's moved out of the way, everybody can kind of go, "Oh, finally, we can announce
yeah,
our release date." I mean, Black Desert was super fun. What I played, it was just convoluted in regards to like the MMO ness of
yeah,
all that stuff. But the
yeah.
fact that this is just a
Yeah,
kind of
it's
single
as
player.
far as I can tell, and as far as they've told me, it's this is a full on single player open world action adventure game. So yeah, I think it obviously takes big inspiration from what they've done before in terms of
Yeah.
certain things, but this is definitely them trying to appeal to a different crowd. So I am excited to see more of it and see what it actually plays like once I can get into the open world and stuff. So hopefully
Hmm.
I'll have a chance to play more of it at some point. And if I do, I'll be sure to report it here on the podcast. Right, Jeff, let's talk about one more of your games. I'm going to give you one more before
Sure.
we move on to some kind of the major news,
Yeah.
because this episode is
Okay.
starting to go a little bit long. So, which one of your games would you like to talk about?
I kind of mentioned it earlier, and I'll kind of bring it up now because I want to kind of jump back into playing it. That's 33 Immortals. This was the game that when they showed up on stage, they brought Phil Spencer and he was playing. They did a
Yes.
round and stuff. I wasn't paying much attention to it. Just the game didn't really interest me. I don't know. The presentation maybe didn't do anything. Um, but this game is great. I had a fantastic time playing it. So basically, what it is that you play this kind of spirit character that kind of is kind of summoned back, and you team up with 32 other people.
Which
So
is
33
crazy to
Immortals,
say.
Expedition 33.
That's crazy to
Like,
say.
33 is everywhere this year. Holy hell.
I have a quick
Um,
question because when I first
yeah,
saw this, my instinct was, oh, this looks very similar to Hades. Is it similar to
it's a Hades
Hades?
like.
Okay,
Hmm.
interesting. Interesting.
It's a Hades like. It's like if you were playing Hades with 32 other people. Um, so basically, what it is that you'll create your character. There's different classes. You basically, if you grab a sword, you're a sword class. If you grab the staff, you're the mage class. If you grab the daggers, you're the thief class. Like, it's classes are based off the weapon. You can upgrade the weapon. You can add perks and skills to the weapons as you go, and tons of progression unlocks. There's different costumes and pieces. You can have a dog or a cat follow you. I'm still looking to unlock that corgi looking motherfucker, but we'll get there. And so basically, what it is that you started the map, and then basically something will happen, and then these like points on the map will open, these like dungeons, and you'll basically go to a dungeon. 5 or 6 people can join. I think it's five. They can join into the dungeon, and then you will fight baddies. You will then defeat a boss, and then you get to open one of two chests or two chests if you have keys. And then you'll get different perks. So it's kind of like, oh, you'll do additional damage in this run. You will your recovery speed is better in this run. So it works off like that. When all of the dungeons have been defeated, or a certain amount of time has taken place, or whatever the case is, you'll eventually be summoned to one of three spots on the map. And generally, you all want to be at the one spot. And then basically you will fight a massive horde of enemies as the rest of the ground is all covered in lava, and you're trapped on these like little circles. And then eventually you will beat that beat that encounter, and then you will ascend. And then when you ascend, you will be in front of a boss. And if there was a game a little while ago that we played where it looked like a 80s Saturday morning cartoon, and it was like that you had a bow or sword or whatever, and it had that artwork style to it. The first boss that you fight in this reminded me of that game entirely. It's this big like skeleton looking thing and stuff like that, and it's just this big boss. And everybody who is left alive fights it all at once. And it is such a neat game because its multiplayer is similar to things like Journey, where it just feels seamless. That the multiplayer just doesn't feel like it's multiplayer. It feels like they're supposed to be there.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and it is incredibly fun to play. The combat is really good depending on the class, and then you get these upgrades to your weapons that make them feel different. So I really like the great sword, and it's got this like block type of thing that works really well. But then I've got an attack that, if I keep the meter charged up, which protects me on the attack, it does additional damage and sends all these like other attacks out, and it's just really solid. Like this game feels like really polished. Like it's still in game preview. There's a second area, the second boss. I haven't been able to defeat that. I'm waiting for like the community to find easy ways to defeat this boss, because like it was so new when it came out that I was kind of with it and discovering it with everybody. But that boss is hard. And that one you only play. This is the part of the game that I'm like, eh. 33 players in the base mode. In the second mode, I think it's 11.
Oh, okay.
So you have less people. So I don't get why they called it 33 Immortals if one mode is 33 players and the other two are 11 and 4. I don't know. That's the thing that I'm not terribly impressed with, is that you've built the whole game around the first mode,
Yes.
and then the other two modes just feel lesser as a result.
Interesting.
That's why
Okay.
the second boss is so hard, is because sometimes you'll have 6 or 7 people, as opposed to we did one map and everybody lived. We had 33 people and
Oh
33
wow.
winners. Like it was, and that boss is a trial. It's not difficult. It just lasts a long time.
Yeah.
But again, if you like Hades, but you're not like, I will say the character art absolutely sucks. The
Interesting. Okay.
portraits, when you're talking to people, like the Hades kind of portraits that they do
Mhm.
when you go up and talk to the guy, and then his
Yeah.
artwork's there, and that artwork is awful.
Oh wow.
It
Okay.
feels so absolutely placeholder. Like if you are coming to be a multiplayer Hades, hire someone that can actually compete, like drawing wise, because I don't like what the characters look like. I was playing with Jonathan the other day with it, and he's like, yeah, this one character who's supposed to be this like beautiful woman and stuff, and this beacon that you're interacting with, she doesn't look like gorgeous. Like she doesn't like look, and like it just, I don't like the art. I absolutely don't like the art for those portraits. For everything else, fucking kicks ass. But
Interesting.
those
Okay.
portrait arts, I don't like that at all.
Oh.
As someone who can draw and is super picky, like I am definitely way more like kind of like coded to like, I don't like that art. I don't like what that looks like.
Yeah.
I think that looks stupid. Like Rob Liefeld, stop drawing tiny feet. Like just all sorts of stuff. Like I'm very picky when it comes to art. Like
Yeah.
I don't care how good your story is in the comic. If the art is absolute dog shit, I will not read it.
Yeah.
So like I'm very picky on art, but yeah, everything else in that game is absolutely awesome.
Oh,
But that character artwork needs work.
fair. Well, obviously we've played a lot of games. There are other games that we could speak about, but we'll save some of them for the next episode.
Well, they're all reviewed. Every
There,
single thing, everything else that we were
Jeff
going to
has
talk
been
about: Monster Hunter
really
Wilds, Steel Seed, Magic and Whispers of the Witch Tree, Ixiom, 33 Immortals is not reviewed. It's game preview. I'll get to it eventually. And South of
yes,
Midnight. Um, they're all out there.
yes.
Read the reviews.
Jeff has
I
been
will say
holding down the
all of them are
fort quite strongly on reviews and other things while I've been unable to really do anything because doing things from your mobile phone is hard.
I write reviews so much faster when I'm on my phone at my break. Like, oh my god, I'm like, like, oh, I'm gonna sit down today, and I'm like, I'm gonna get like my review for Expedition 33, and I'm like, yeah, I'll do a couple paragraphs. And I mean, like, meanwhile, like, I
Oh
wrote all of
wow,
this basically on a 15-minute break.
that's
Like
crazy.
that's I haven't even got to like I'm only introducing the characters so far.
That's crazy. That's
Um,
crazy. But
so yeah, like yeah.
other than what we've been playing, of course, there has been a lot of video game news. We are only going to speak about some of the biggest things here. So I guess we
Well,
should get
I did I did alter some of the news in terms of like
yeah,
the thing that I sent you originally because like Switch 2 news that's already been out.
yeah,
That's like everybody's already talking about it.
yeah,
It's super expensive. The
of
tariffs are
course.
kind of screwing over
However, I
everything.
do want to have a quick talk about it because I still think
Yep.
it's important because we're about a month away now. I was very
Hmm.
lucky and
Exactly a month.
managed to secure a pre-order fairly easily from a
Same.
retailer here in the
Yeah.
UK.
Oh,
But
trying to get one online, impossible. I just walked into the GameStop that was here, like, hey, you guys still doing pre-orders? Yep.
but yeah, some
Cool.
people really struggled, and I still know people that haven't managed to get one, and then apparently like Nintendo's invite system that they're doing, they might not even do that in some places until release day or something. So it's like there's a weird system, but it's good to know that me and you will both have one. That makes it easier to possibly do some coverage of some Switch things.
Yeah, especially playing Metroid, the new Metroid on the system at
Yeah.
120 frames per second.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah. God. Yeah.
that's gonna be insane.
And there is that
I
game.
mean,
I
it's
forget
it's a
what
nice
it's
system.
called as well. But there's one game they're bringing out where it seems to have like wheelchair basketball in it. So that's
Yeah,
weird.
I saw that. And I'm sitting here. I'm like, okay, you want this game to come out and kind of represent this accessibility thing where it's
Yes.
like, because I mean, you're in a wheelchair, right? So I
Yeah.
mean, like, obviously there's some like you're looking at this game with in a very different lens than what I'm looking at.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But you asked me.
The thing that I find so funny is they want this game to be so accessible and stuff and represent all this stuff, but then you have it on the mouse and stuff with rotating like that, and I'm like,
Not everyone could do that. Yeah.
where are you playing this? Like, are you revving it on the couch and is that precise? Do you have to have a TV table basically in front of going? Like, it's
Yeah.
like, are your arms going to be like super tired
Yeah.
by the end of it?
And the
Like,
other thing is
it feels so
quite
weird.
frankly, from a pure accessibility point, not everybody would be able to use those controls. So it's going to be
No,
interesting to see what they do
like you have
because
people that have like limited motor function on a lot of stuff. Like maybe one arm is good for this and the other
yeah,
one is like where they have it up here or
yeah,
something. Like,
yeah,
and they can't do it. How are they playing it?
precisely.
And it's like it's so funny because like I mean
Well, let's be
yeah
honest. Nintendo, not to be too much of a downer on Nintendo, but they have never been good with accessibility stuff, and I think like many
no
other things, they're gonna be just very behind the times. Like they will
yeah
start doing accessibility when it gets to the point where they have to do it because that's how
I
Nintendo
mean
works.
they're also charging everybody for a fucking tutorial
Yeah, yeah, it's
like
true.
that Nintendo Switch 2 tutorial game or whatever. It's like, oh, you can learn how the fans stop overheating. You have to pay
I
us
mean,
five
let's be
bucks.
honest. They'll charge anyone for anything if they could. They they would charge people just to look at the box of a Nintendo Switch too if they could.
I guarantee you that when you open up the box, it's going to be the most simplistic cardboard and foam you've ever seen
Yeah, yeah.
because they're to cut costs so fucking much
Oh
because of
yeah,
all those tariffs.
absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, those tariffs. I did think at one point were they going to lead to a delay in release of the machine in North America? You know.
No? And they wanted to charge way less. I mean, look at the Japanese only Switch
Yeah,
too. It's way cheaper.
yeah, Yeah, yeah. I mean,
But
the price isn't terrible here in the UK, but it's certainly, as you
well,
know,
it's here it's
it's not great.
$700 with Mario Kart,
Okay,
and that's before tax.
so here I think it's 450, and all of our taxes are included. So that's around, I think 650 Canadian, something like that. So we're paying slightly less than you, but we're still paying more than some other places.
Yeah, it is. It's so disgusting because the thing that sucks about with us with being Canada is we're landlocked to like, the garbage dump,
Yes.
below
Yeah.
us. And hey to all our US fans, absolutely love you. You guys are
We
doing
love
great.
you. There's just
Um,
one particular person we don't that we're not
yeah,
fans of.
the orchid is you know poisoned. Um, no, like our prices are affected by the US price.
Yes.
So we get the scraps essentially of like, we're like the younger child where it's kind of like, no, this is how the rules work, like you whatever happens to this kid happens to the next kid.
Yes.
So it's that same thing where like, the price is going to be that price and
Hmm.
then they bring it here. Now it's not one to one. It's not the exact conversion
Yeah.
because they need a number that looks accurate from a marketing point. So
Yes.
if it's 4.99 and it comes out to like 617.35, they're not going to do that. They'll do 5.99.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? They'll hit those
Yeah.
dollar
Where
amounts
it's
because they want
like
that marketing to look good.
this is why we get shafted a little bit here in the UK, because technically, because of exchange rates and value of different currencies and stuff, we
Yeah.
should actually pay a lot less than everybody else. Like,
Yeah.
we should pay the lowest price, and yet we often end up paying more than US. Like what we pay
Yeah,
is the
I mean,
equivalent
fucking
of
Australia,
more than
they pay
US,
by the
So
fucking nose.
yeah, they do, and it's crazy, but it is what it is, and game prices are going up. Like, I know, as a small little side thing, Xbox announced the other day that because of tariffs and other things, the prices of Xboxes are actually going up, as well
Yeah,
as
like $100 on the Series X, $80 on the Series S. Now it's US, and then games are going to be
yeah,
for some games are going to be that 80
yeah,
US. So
which means that within
it's
a year or two, all games are going to be ACUS, basically. That's
yeah,
what's going to happen.
like right now, I think Mario Kart for pre-order or something is like 115 Canadian.
Wow. Wow, okay. Oh, that's a lot. That is a lot.
Suddenly, Game Pass is looking pretty fucking good, huh?
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of Game Pass, just because I see it straight in front of my face, right between us there, we have Mr. Doom Guy, and that's coming
That
real
should be
soon.
coming out right away.
So
Yeah, this
yeah,
month.
Jeff is going to be covering that. I'm sure we haven't been fortunate enough to get codes yet. There is a chance that we might at some point, but the game, of course, is coming in about a week's time, so not too far away. So I'm excited for that one. But there has been other video game news that we need to
Yeah,
talk
so I got a
about.
bunch here.
And
Right.
I think, Jeff, what we should do is keep our tradition alive of, for some reason, every time we do a podcast, there are layoffs or closures. Um, and who is
Yeah, I
the
have. So the news that you have on that doc is not what I am covering.
interesting?
Um,
Okay,
because I
interesting.
wanted to do a little bit because we waited a couple days to do
We
this one,
we
so I
did,
didn't want too much
yes.
stuff that was out of date here.
However, I think that one's
But
important.
yeah, I'm just trying to what's it respawn? Yeah,
Respawn, yes. Respawn,
yeah.
if you don't
And I
know,
didn't have
have
time
been.
to prep the doc, which is why all this news is
That's okay. Respawn,
new
if
to
you
you.
don't know, has been completely gutted um, to many
Yeah, so I've got it here.
extents.
Um, yeah, so Electronic Arts has canceled two projects at Apex Legends Studio Respawn and reportedly laid off hundreds of workers across its entire business. On Tuesday, Respawn announced that it had made the decision to step away from two early stage incubation projects and make some targeted team adjustments across Apex Legends and Star Wars Jedi. According to Bloomberg, these projects included an extraction shooter set in the Titanfall universe that was not close to release. 100 staff have been laid off at Respawn, it's claimed, and a further 200 to 300 across other departments at EA. A company spokesperson said, as part of our continued focus on long term strategic priorities, we've made select changes within our organization that have more effectively aligned teams and allocate resources in search of driving future growth. Now, everyone knows that is PR speak. That is a fancy way of
Yeah.
saying that we need to be leaner in terms of, like, you know, just essentially cutting jobs so that they kind of have, like, they're paying less people
Yeah.
essentially.
It's so their accounts look better, basically.
Yeah. Respawn will continue to work on new Apex Legends content and the third entry in the Star Wars Jedi series. It says these decisions aren't easy, and we are deeply grateful to every teammate affected. Their creativity and contributions have helped build Respawn into what it is today. We're offering meaningful support to those impacted, including exploring new opportunities within EA. EA shares declined by more than 16% in January, losing around $6 billion in market value after it made a pre-earnings announcement that FC25 and Dragon Age: The Veilguard had failed to meet expectations. Imagine what it's doing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing that kind of sucks is, like, Respawn have essentially created nothing but bangers.
Yeah.
Like, this is a studio that has done remarkably well, and to see, like, yeah, like 100 people from Respawn just go.
And I also think that, look, I'm not a business person. I understand business people are going to make business decisions, but from a creative standpoint, and that's where I come at it from because that's my background. I think that when you're a studio that has made that many very successful hits and at times made hits when nobody expected them to be hits. Do you know what I mean? I think that
Yeah.
you should earn some leeway to take a risk here and there and maybe finish
And I
off a
mean,
project that the company don't
yeah,
think is
like
going to work. Like,
like the extraction shooter within Titanfall, or even if, like, we had Titanfall 3 going and stuff like that, it's like people have wanted those games.
yeah,
Like, you instead you're probably going to release games that people didn't want,
yes.
and then it's just going to lead to more losses.
It's a
Like,
real shame.
the extraction shooter I could see being chopped, but Titanfall 3, people have been, like, foaming at the mouth for, like, anything Titanfall. Because Titanfall
Yes.
2 is, like, literally one of the best campaign shooters of all time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean it really is. And but they killed that entire franchise just because of the way they handled it. But that of course wasn't the biggest bomb to drop this week. It made you do your first ever editorial, I believe, Jeff. And it's
yeah, that
something
one
that
is on my list here.
we're not very happy
Um,
about. Why don't you
no,
explain?
yeah, so actually, I'm going to read my editorial as opposed to covering it from a different outlet.
Nice. So head to analogstickgaming.com, people, to read Jeff's editorial.
Yeah, so this sucks. So, all right, so here it is. Over the past week and change, Giant Bomb has been quiet, entirely due to a mandate from Fandom, which acquired the website in 2022. However, now the future of Giant Bomb has become all too clear. Simply put, there is no future for it whatsoever. New guidelines were forced upon the team, who actively mocked them on the now pulled 888th episode of the Giant Bombcast. I have that Bombcast downloaded to my phone. It will never leave it.
Nice.
The guidelines effectively went against what Giant Bomb has been: the identity of a website people have enjoyed for years, an outlet that felt like a bunch of friends bullshitting around and having a great time, especially as the community felt like they were part of something special. Giant Bomb was unique. This was its strength, and fandom has snuffed the flame of that identity. Over the past few years, Giant Bomb has seen many changes, from its content to the people that have make up that cast. From founder Jeff Gersman being fired, many of the talented team members like Jason Ostriker and Jess O'Brien were let go as well, and then the addition of Jeff Grubb and Dan Riker joining the team, the latter being one of the original members. However, both Jeff Grubb and Dan Reichert have commented about leaving the website behind, as well as Jane Beat's own Mike Minotti. Jeff Grubb commented on Blue Sky the following: "Well, that was a dream come true. Knew it wouldn't last though. Out of a job at the moment, but I'll always be doing patreon.com/game mess." Dan Reichert also mentioned that he would no longer be appearing on any Giant Bomb content going forward. Dan Reichert, however, does stream on Twitch, having a steady turnout with his variety streams, such as Smash Bros. Battles, where I've lost the majority of my channel points, where players can bet channel points to movie nights with his community. Co-host of the Game Mess and last of the co-host of the Game Mess podcast and the last of the Nintendogs podcast, Mike Minotti, who shares duties on those podcasts with Jeff Grubb, also commented on his leave from the website. "Needless to say, I will no longer be contributing to Giant Bomb. Nothing but love to all the wonderful people there in GameSpot. Jeff was a workhorse and a hero for the way he shouldered so much responsibility there, and I am furious with the ways execs treated him. We aren't going anywhere. Giant Bomb has been special to me. The Dump Truck is my favorite podcast of all time and helped me with plenty of long drives, not to mention making me laugh my ass off during a long period of some intense mental health issues. The Bombcast itself was incredible and special for its uncensored content, and Blight Club has been a shining example of great content on YouTube and Twitch that no one else was even close to competing with. It was such a great idea, and it no longer exists. These shows are now gone because fandom wants to restructure and adjust the content to fall in line with the mandate of limiting the show's current creativity to likely chase trends and turn it into some fucking thing you see everywhere. They want to effectively change the identity of Giant Bomb and lose its entire community, which has found it to be important to them. Giant Bomb has one of the best communities ever, and now we are all collectively pissed. We've seen this happen before. A company purchases a popular outlet, guts it, and then uses it to push SEO content, clickbait videos, and other content to make a buck without even the means of offering engaging content. While some members of the team have left and created new outlets, some members of those teams have left and created new outlets that are fan-funded, some of these ventures don't perform well enough to offer a full-time income. Whatever form Giant Bomb comes back as, I will not endorse or engage with it. Fandom won't see a single view from me, ever. Anything they own is now pointless to engage with, as it'll all be gone within the coming years anyways. So why bother? Visit the website. There's links to the majority of the Giant Bomb cast and their Twitch. They're on fairly frequently.
Support them as much as you can.
They're going to need all the support they can, and the same goes with Nextlander podcast and a bunch of other podcasts that are built from people that have lost their jobs to a lot of these conglomerates that have come up.
I'm going to ask you a question, Jeff.
Bought their ways. Yeah.
Do you think there's a chance that, because obviously this new cast of Giant Bomb, if you will, over the last sort of few years, have made a bit of a name for themselves. They've done quite a few really good bits of content, and they have things that people look forward to every year as well. Do you think there's a chance that any of them come together and kind of do something away from this?
I'm kind of hoping that like Jeff Grubb, Dan Reichert, Jan Ochoa, and Jeff Bacalar, that they kind of do something. Like they kind of go, okay, we're going to do a Patreon, we're going to do Twitch, we're going to do this, because like they've got connections to where they need to go. Like Jan Ochoa is a one-man show. He's literally the best guy you could get for like any technical means of like running a podcast or running a website. Dude is like absolutely skilled.
Yeah, definitely.
You got Jeff Bacalar. He knows how to do the business part of the stuff. Dan Reichert knows how to drive content. He knows how to do everything. Blight Club's one of the most amazing things ever. And you get Jeff Grubb, who is literally the video game industry. He knows that industry inside and out. He's one of the most celebrated journalists in terms of like getting like leaks, getting like content, getting like the what's and who's of all these sites. So like I hope that there is something there. And that they're able to bring in people like Turbo Sean to do like the background stuff that Jan doesn't have time for, or so on and so forth. Like I still watch Game Ass podcast. I still watch Last of the Nintendogs podcast. Every time Dan Reichert's on, I watch his streams as well too.
Yes.
Even though the movie nights are usually too late for me, so I miss out on those. But yeah, like I mean, you get that going on, and then another thing as well too that happened as well too, is that Polygon has been sold to Velnet with numerous
Yes.
staff let go as part of the sale. So you get a lot of people that they've lost their jobs, and yeah, like Polygon's pretty much Polygon
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
way. Like that's the thing that kind of sucks about this stuff as well too is like fandom essentially like I think they sold or they were restructuring a lot, so I don't even know what's happening with GameSpot anymore.
Wow.
Like I don't know what's happening with them if they're restructuring or anything like that because you have people like Tamar Hussein and Lucy James who are amazing. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, of
granted,
course.
I'm not a huge fan of GameSpot in general. Like I like Tam and Lucy. Everybody else, I don't interact with enough to kind of warrant their value of,
Yes.
of
I
what they
did
are.
you so there is someone I used to like well, I still like him, but
Jordan
he's
Ramey's pretty good too as well.
yeah. I did like but he moved on from GameSpot a while ago. Michael Hyam, who now does stuff with
Yeah,
IGN. Really
he
like
got me
him.
into the Trails series, and I DM'd him on Twitter back in the day, and I was like, hey, just let you know, like you got me hooked on the Trails series, and I absolutely love them. I'm like 7 games deep in them, and blah 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 blah. And like he's like, dude, that's awesome. So
That's
like
cool. That's cool.
I've had my little interaction with him and stuff like that.
That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, but what I'd say is this is another sign that, you need to support independent games, media and entertainment places. And that doesn't have to be us. It can be anybody. I'm a big fan of VGC, for example. We get a lot of our news from VGC. I think they're one of the best outlets out
Yeah.
there. There is, and I do feel like to kind of flip it positively in some way. I do feel like everything is cyclical. Everything has a cycle, and I think that from the ashes the phoenix rises, right? So it's like, yes, these places get bought up and they get gutted and they kind of become nothing and eventually close down a lot of these places. But I think there's also, what happens is they create space for new, more interesting places in their place, right? So it's like Giant Bomb. If we go back to like the very early history of Giant Bomb, why does Giant Bomb exist in the first place? Do you remember, Jeff? Do you remember why Giant Bomb exists?
Well, they built it to get away from all of the bullshit of like corporate owned
Yeah.
stuff.
They basically built it to get away from GameSpot, right? Which was quite funny because they then ended up being which is weird. But
Yeah.
but yeah, it is what it is. And it's like, I think that it opens the door for some interesting things. Like, we do have very good independent places out there, whether they be YouTube channels like MinMax and Kinda Funny. I think they both have their place and both do their own interesting things, whether it be independent news outlets like VGC, whether it be more kind of independent entertainment and gaming and news and everything outlets like ourselves or the Outer Haven or many many others. There's there are so many sites and so many voices out there now that there is never a shortage. And what I would say to people is, look, IGN get a bad rep because they still do very great work. There's a lot of people there that do great work. Michael Hyam is one of those. I'm a big fan of Ryan McCaffrey. Uh, You know, they have people there that do great work, as they do at all of these websites. But
Yeah.
just remember there are other voices and other websites out there, and you don't have to run to those places just because they have a name. A name doesn't really mean anything. A name is just a reputation, but reputations can change at any time. So what I would say is just explore, because there's lots of places out there, and I actually think that at this point most of the best places covering video games in any manner are either completely independent or they have some form of independence. For example, I'm a big fan of Digital Foundry, but they are partly owned by IGN effectively at this point.
Yeah.
They have the same, but they still have so much of their company that is independently owned by the people that actually work there and do the work. So it allows them more freedom. So yeah, I'm always gonna support that stuff, and you should too, and you should support all these people that have just walked away from Giant Bomb because they're doing it for the right reasons. Because they're doing it because these people were trying to tie their hands behind their back, effectively.
Yeah, it's
So,
like most of these companies because like apparently the guy that took over, the exec that took over with Giant Bomb, is that he hates live streaming,
how
which is
weird.
all Giant Bomb was.
Yeah, yeah, how weird.
So I have no idea, but yeah, we'll cover. We got a couple little news things here. So this one is fairly new. This dropped today, actually. Gears of War Reloaded is officially coming this August to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and PC. Microsoft has announced that the Gears of War franchise will debut on PlayStation this August, almost 20 years after its first release on Xbox. Gears of War Reloaded is a modernized version of the original Gears of War game and features all the improvement from Gears of War Ultimate Edition plus some modern performance boosts. Gears of War Reloaded will release on August 26, costing $40 US on all platforms, and it will be available on Game Pass day one. Yeah,
There,
so what do we got here? Xbox players who own the digital version of Gears of War Ultimate Edition will receive a free upgrade to Gears of War Reloaded. Gears of War Reloaded will support up to 4K at 120 FPS and the multiplayer suite from the original game. So yeah, like this is like a really nice
yeah,
kind of
it's a good thing. It's a cool thing. It's the right thing to do. However, now let's talk about the somewhat elephant in the room, which shouldn't be an elephant in the room any longer, and that is this game is coming to PlayStation 5.
yeah,
If
and I mean like what better advertising could you get for the next Gears of War
yeah,
than that?
the problem is the next Gears of War is probably also going to come to PlayStation 5.
Probably. I mean, just means the Gears of War franchise makes more money.
And precisely. So I'm absolutely with you on that. 100%. As you know, we've spoken about it before. But
Yeah.
Gears is a franchise that's been around for 20 years. And if I go back 20 years, there is a little bit of a Xbox 360 fanboy in me that goes
Yeah.
not this one. This one just doesn't feel
Yeah.
right.
It is like that banter. No, stop it.
Hunter's
Um.
trying to ruin the show, everybody.
Oh, he's coming over here and whining because he needs to go pee. But I mean, like, dude, like, you hold it for way longer than what we're doing right now. Um. Yeah. So like, oh hi, how's it going? Yeah, you doing good? Okay. Yeah, he's just sitting here like puppy dog eyes, right? Because that's what he got. But no, like yeah, I can see it. People like upset that Gears of War is coming to whatever, and maybe Halo at some point. Who knows?
Oh, hey,
But like,
now that Gears is coming and Forza already have, like,
yeah,
Halo is definitely coming. And we
for
know
sure,
that anyway. And look, business wise it's the right decision, and I'll never complain about more people playing amazing games. I do think, and I still think, and I think this will always be true, from a platform perspective, however, you're now taking it to the point where you are killing your platform. You
Yeah, like I think Xbox should hold on to about three or four key franchises
Yeah.
and keep them exclusive. But I mean, at the end of the day, money is going to drive these
Oh yeah,
factors.
absolutely. I said it to somebody earlier that if they had been doing these, if they had brought Forza across and Indiana Jones and these other games, and they hadn't sold on PlayStation, they wouldn't do it anymore. The reason they keep doing it is because they keep selling really, really well.
Well,
So
yeah, like Xbox is the number one publisher on PlayStation this year.
yeah, so why are they not going to carry on
I mean,
doing it,
Sony's not
right?
releasing games. Somebody has to.
And
Somebody has to save PlayStation, Jordan,
I still find
and
it
it's going to be
funny that
Xbox.
that there's probably a few million people that paid for the premium edition of Forza Horizon 5 to get 3 days early access to a game that is like 4 years old.
Yep.
Like, what a
Who
money
knows?
making scheme by Microsoft.
Oh, I know.
Brilliant.
This one's kind of interesting here. Bungie have failed to have a copyright lawsuit thrown out because it's incapable of presenting the game content being challenged now that it's been vaulted. So, writer Matthew Kesley Martinell sued Bungie last year for copyright infringement, alleging that Destiny 2's Red Legion was taken directly from his writings on WordPress 4 years before the game was released. Bungie filed a motion to have the case dismissed, stating that the examples cited in Martineau's suit are demonstratively different in Destiny 2 than in his work, but the demonstrating part has become an issue for the studio. Much like the content being cited from Destiny 2's Red War campaign and DLCs like Curse of Osiris, however, because Destiny 2 is a live service with an evolving storyline, this content has now been placed in the Destiny Content Vault, where it can no longer be accessed by players or even by Bungie itself. Bungie sent the court an affidavit by Destiny 2 game director Tyrus Green in which he explained why the studio was unable to provide the Red War and Curse of Osiris content to the court in its original form. The Red War and Curse of Osiris legacy builds can no longer run because their outdated code is incompatible with Destiny 2's underlying operational framework, which has been evolved considerably since the Red War and Curse of Osiris campaigns were retired. As a result, Bungie cannot feasibly provide the court with the original Destiny 2 game as it existed in 2017, including the accused Red War and Curse of Osiris campaigns, in any operable or reviewable form, nor will Bungie be able to produce the accused campaigns in operable or reviewable form if this matter proceeds to formal discovery.
So basically, because they can't prove it, they might be screwed.
Fuck Destiny and its goddamn vaulting. Like,
Yeah.
if anything else has said that this was a bad idea from the get go, congratulations,
The
you fucked
fact the
yourself.
fact that they can't even access their own content though is crazy.
How do they not have, like, a build of that
They should have
that is.
everything backed up, right? You would have thought.
They just, like, delete it? We won't need this anymore. Delete. Like, that's how fucked this vault thing is. It's one of
Yeah,
the reasons why I'll never touch Destiny is because that game has ballooned to the size and scale that they don't know how to manage those parts
yeah,
like
yeah.
efficiently. So this is hilarious.
I mean, if it gets to the point where they basically screwed themselves just because they can't prove their argument, like that'll be absolutely hilarious. Because what does
Yeah.
happen if they can't prove that if they can't prove the person who's accusing them wrong, do they lose? Like it's going to be interesting. I'm going to keep an eye on this one because this is going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, there's more to the story, so definitely go to VGC and check it out, but that's just so funny.
It is. It is.
Um
Fix your
all
system,
right.
but
So we got two, potentially three.
okay.
Rockstar Games employees didn't believe that Grand Theft Auto 6 was going to come out in 2025 prior to its delay to 2026, it's claimed. After months of speculation, Rockstar confirmed on Friday that the game would now launch in May of 2026. Following the announcement, Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, who had previously reported that the 2025 release date window was looking unlikely, took to social media to claim that those within Rockstar themselves didn't even expect the game to release this year. Nobody I've talked to at Rockstar has believed fall 2025 was a real window for a very long time now. Too much work, not enough time, and what appears to be a real desire from management to avoid brutal crunch. GTA 6 slipping to 2026 has seemingly been inevitable for months, if not longer.
Well,
In a
there
statement from
is one
Rockstar on
amazing
Friday,
thing you just said there that I want to point out.
yeah,
A
um,
desire from management to avoid brutal crunch, because we
now
know that,
brutal crunch. They're probably still crunching. It's just not brutal crunch.
yeah, it's not as brutal
So
as
instead of
what
20
was
hour
reported
workdays,
in the past.
17.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's like, you guys, we're going to let you guys
You
go
can
home
have a
3 hours
couple of
early.
hours back. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Only 6-day workdays. We're not doing 7 anymore. In a statement from Rockstar on Friday, the company apologized for the delay. With every game we release, the goal has always been to try and exceed your expectations, and Grand Theft Auto 6 is no exception. We hope you understand that we need this extra time to deliver at the level of quality you expect and deserve. So I mean, yeah, this is one of those things where they put a release date and they just had no idea what they were doing, and instead of cyberpunking it, they're going to release it when it should.
Yeah. And to be
So
fair, they're the
no other
one.
game is going to release in May.
To be fair, they are also the one company that probably does have the luxury of taking as long as they want. Like they could say it's delayed by 2 years, and do you know what I mean? They could say, yeah, we're gonna delay it by 2 whole years, and people would still wait for it because it's just that's what GTA has become at this point. I don't think it will get delayed again. I think traditionally, if you look at Rockstar games, they they tend to have this cycle of we will announce a window and then it will be delayed to a more specific time, and that is when the game will come out. Like I do believe May 26 will be the release date of the game.
Yeah, they probably put it far ahead. So like, okay, we're going to enter like polishing, like in terms of like full optimization and stuff,
Yeah.
probably in like February. And they're like, okay, we're going to be gold at like the beginning of April.
Yeah, we're gonna make sure that we hit this, and I think it sounds like they've made this decision for the right reasons. So good on them, and I hope that this game lives up to everything that people want it to be after such a long time. But I think that's gonna be a hard task even for GTA, if I'm being honest. So what
Yeah.
else do we have,
All right.
Jeff, before we finish the show here?
Well, Banter's got the zoomies. So he is just bolting everywhere around the living room, aren't you? Yeah, speedster. All right, last story here is French President Emmanuel Macron has praised Claire Obscure, Expedition 33, for its success. The game's official Instagram page posted a bilingual message on Thursday thanking players and referring to the game's French heritage. What a crazy week. Thank you to everyone. It's been 7 days since we launched Expedition 33. What a pleasure it has been to see players from all over the world experiencing the game. We hope you've enjoyed spotting the nods to our home country throughout. We are proud to share this adventure with you. Macron replied to the post from his own Instagram account, praising the studio for hitting 1 million sales milestone so quickly. 1 million sold and currently one of the highest rated games in history, and yes, it's French. Congratulations to Sandfall Interactive and all the creators of Expedition 33. You are a shining example of French audacity and creativity.
Do you think
Um,
Macron doesn't understand that some of the best games in history have also been French? Like,
he's like, this is the first French game ever. So, Claire Obscure Expedition 33 was released on April 24th and has enjoyed a widespread critical acclaim with a Metacritic score currently standing at 93. The game has
yes.
sold more than a million copies in its first 3 days. And yeah, like we talked about it earlier. This game is absolutely stunning.
Yeah, Jeff's
How we
in
shot
love
it.
with this video
It's
game. Like,
well, it's my game of the year, like hands down. Like the story in
well,
this game is so fucking good.
well,
Um, This is probably the best story in an RPG I think I've like ever played.
Wow,
It is
okay.
so beautifully done. And the performances are great. Like if Charlie Cox is not nominated, like I honestly, I'm gonna call it right now. Charlie Cox and Ben Starr are going to be nominated in the same category
Wow, okay. That would be really cool. That would be really cool.
because it's happened before. I mean, last
Yeah.
year I think we had two people from the same game.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, like
fair.
I want Charlie Cox in more games.
I
Like
mean, if
he
if
is,
he was that good, it sounds like he should be. So
oh, he's unbelievably good. Like he's a great actor. Like
maybe
Matt
maybe we'll
Murdock.
get a Daredevil game.
Oh yeah, if they do a Daredevil game, like you got to have Charlie Cox doing that. He'll like bang down the door and beat up everybody in the hallway, just like in that episode of Daredevil.
Yeah.
Like that's just gonna be like,
Oh, but speaking of Charlie Cox and Expedition 33, I am now going to end this episode so I can go and start the game because I just want to
man,
after hearing you gush about it, Jeff. So I'm going to go and
like
play the
honestly,
first couple of hours.
okay, play the first 2 hours. All
Okay.
right. Um, when they start the expedition and they get to the island, all right. After that, when they get to the island scene, yeah, send me a text whether or not this will be your game of the year.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay.
Right after that scene.
I will do. Well,
Right
if
after it.
if you have played Expedition 33 and it is your game of the year, let us know in the comments. It's still early in the year, but
And what's your
apparently this
favorite
game
Pictos?
is
Comment.
like
What's
the
your
best
favorite
thing since
Pictos?
sliced bread. So, you know,
It's better than sliced bread. Have you seen sliced bread? It's not that
but
great.
yes, it has been wonderful to be back. Hopefully, we will never have a gap between episodes this long ever again. And we will see you next time where we'll probably start to think about kind of Summer Games Fest predictions and that kind of thing, as well as catching up on some other games that we've been playing. But for now, it's a goodbye from me.